So still under caution number 13, if my arithmetic is correct, behind that very lovely silver AMG Mercedes-Benz safety car. And the opportunity then for Chio-san to chill out at the front of the field with 1, 2, 3, 4 cars between him. No, more than that, because it's the 16 car, isn't it? That is second place now, and that is probably half a dozen to 8 cars further back. Well, let's set yourself for a little bit more action, and we'll remind you what we've already seen, because there's been plenty of it here on the mountain for Liqui Moly, Bathurst 12 Hours 2015.
I feel like it's been an awful lot so far, John, and there's a long way to go. This was the 11 Bentley that has been in the wars today. They've moved back up to 14th place. Maxi Book behind the wheel, and this was awesome racing. GT3 at its absolute finest. 4 different brands just dicing and fighting for track position at turn 2. And that was the Nissan going through up at turn 2. That was a slight brush of the wall for the battered and bruised Motion Sport Aston that is the reason for this current safety car. That was the 63 Erebus Motorsport team spinning with a deflating tyre at the cutting. They limped back. It was a long way, and as such it's dropped them quite a ways down the order. In fact, 32nd position, but they continue on. Another safety car out for the Mazda RX-8 GT. Unfortunately, they spun. This was perhaps the most controversial of the moment race so far. A touch, Dean Canto up the inside of Michele Rugolo in the AF Corsa Ferrari. Turned him round at turn 1, copped a drive-through for his efforts, and unfortunately exited the race for the 77 car, which was a shame, because at that point they were looking like Ferrari's strongest challenger for back-to-back Bathurst victories. We're going back to racing. Everyone seems to be reasonably well formed up at this stage, but you don't know what's going on at the back of the freight train. But it's a good free kick for Chio, who leads the race, because there are 3 lap cars between he and the number 10, it's actually the number 8 Bentley, so there's a long way back to the cars chasing him. Dean Canto in the Erebus Mercedes we need to look for, that black SLS AMG. It's busy. You hold your breath into hell corner on every restart, and it's been a trouble spot today. Look at the 16 car swerving left and right to try and work its way through the field.
77 in the pit lane as well, out of sequence. That's an odd one at the end of the
they've got that
yellow
car
flag.
They've got that car fixed then.
That's Rigolo's car.
So that's coming back out. That's what's happened there. That's coming back out of the paddock area. Yeah, good call.
So that's good to see. At least they'll be able to get a finish, hopefully, for AF Corsa.
25th position, the 77 car.
Long way down from where they were. They stopped every safety car early in this race, kept them right in the game, and Rigolo at least looked like he had the raw speed to do the job. Right now, though, the young Japanese driver, Chio, has the raw speed. He is out in front, and he has almost 5 seconds already over the remainder of the field. Erebus Motorsport back in the game. The safety car has helped Dean Canto, who's doing a long stint in the middle of this race. Jack LeBrock and Richard Muscat. You'd expect Muscat to jump in next. He hasn't been in the car for quite some time. Started the race in the dark here this morning. But that Erebus car continues to fight, as we've seen for Erebus so long here. And they continue to produce results at Mount Panorama.
Yep, it's Dean Canto in the 36 car is now trying to get back on the terms with the Phoenix Audi we're looking at on screen now, the number 16, the Crocodile car. And if you look at the Bentley in between, that is John Bow. Then we've got the 32 Lamborghini, not too much further back down the road, should be that Mercedes-Benz. It seems he's dropping back a little there, guys.
So just to update you, the 15 car that was leading before that safety car period took the opportunity to stop. They took fuel. They put Marcus Winkelhock back in the car. He was outstanding this morning, I thought, in those conditions. Got out in front, played the game with the safety car, executed restarts to perfection, and did such a superb job. It's good to see him back in that car. Not that there seems to be a weak link in car 15 so far today, Graham. Man, they've been good. P5 on the road. They're behind Darryl O'Young in the Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin Vantage. Darryl is a 2-time winner here, ironically, with a team he's trying to beat this weekend with the Works Audi squad. So that's been a great fight.
I like Bernie Wybers, who's tweeted using the hashtag B12HI. He says, I've made a deal. I cleaned my apartments during the safety car periods for the Bathurst 12 hours. I'm now done for the whole apartment, and I haven't missed any racing at all.
Absolutely right. And B12HR trending at second across Australia right now. So people are getting interactive with this race. That's the way we like to follow an endurance race. Nissan lead the race from Audi, from Mercedes-Benz, from Daryl Young in the Aston Martin, from the second Audi. It's the two Phoenix Audis at the moment, the quickest of the R8 LMS Ultra squadron.
And then it's the first of the Bentleys with Matt Bell back in that car, having rehydrated.
That is they are the 6 cars on the lead lap. Pat Long is the next man most likely to get back on the lead lap if this race chucks him that opportunity. There is Matt Bell with number 32 Lamborghini, right his wheel tracks. That's not Matt Bell, apologies, that's John Bow, and this is actually full position.
Yeah, so David Russell back behind the wheel of car 32, fastest driver on Friday, with a very, very fast 2:04. We would soon see that would be beaten, especially in qualifying yesterday. But for Friday practice on a green racetrack that hasn't been used for 4 or 5 months, it was quick, and this Lamborghini's got some speed. They're still in this race. It will take a lot of effort, a lot of work, and some very canny strategy to get car 32 back on the lead lap. They're 2 laps behind, but if they can, they will be in the mix on this one. The braking zone in the chase.
And he was looking there whether or not there might be a little bit of space, wasn't he, to see whether or not they get the Lamborghini Gallardo through. V8 Bentley led V10 Lamborghini. But here comes a V6 twin-turbo Nissan, and Katsumasa Jaya 5.2 seconds up as they crossed the line the last time around. It's about half a second closer this time, Christopher Haase, the number 16 Audi.
Yeah, 7.6 for Chayo, 6.9 for Haase, so he's pulled back a little bit of time. The battle for the lead that's been ongoing. It's been one Audi or the other taking the fight up to this Nissan GTR Nismo GT3, to give it its correct full branding. What an amazing car it is. And
great history here as well.
Yeah, oh, look, this place resonates with the history of Godzilla. We created the term in Australia for years of domination on the mountain. Some popular, some not so much.
Well, yes, there are some very famous quotes. And, of course, this car has effectively begat the LM version of it, the prototype version, the LM GTR, or GTR LM, as we like to call it here on RadioLeMans.com, obviously. And it does have the styling cues, there's no doubt about it, as well as the engine up front. And that will be making its competition debut at Silverstone in the early part of the WEC season.
We've been fortunate to be joined by a very special guest in the commentary box, Hindy, a man whose organisation has put a huge amount of work and effort and support into this race. The Mayor of Bathurst, Gary Rush, joins us. Gary, welcome.
Thank you, Richard, and hello, John.
Nice to see you again, Gary.
Nice to see you too.
How's your day?
Oh, look, tremendous. You know, being the mayor of this city and hosting this event here, you couldn't be anything but feel special about what we've got going on here, and to think that we've got such fabulous racing, the quality of the drivers that are here, the teams, it's just such a great boost for Bathurst.
Heck of a way to kick off your bicentennial year, Your Honour.
Yes, it is indeed, yes. As, look, your listeners may or may not know that Bathurst is Australia's oldest inland settlement, and this year we celebrate our bicentenary. So it's a special year for us, and it's a special way for us to promote particularly images of Bathurst to the rest of the country and indeed the rest of the world, and encourage them to come and visit.
We think of Bathurst as the racetrack, and there's 5 or so races as we've got the Vodka car in the kitty litter, the 7 car, he's hit the wall as well. That looks to be at the chase sort of area of the track down there. That's going to be an issue. That's been a big one for the 7 car. But the gravel trap has done its job. There's damage at the rear. Got the Mayor of Bathurst with us. Thumbs up from the driver. Let's have a look. Did he get... Oh, he got... It's another Bentley bump. And we've seen a couple of those today. It's the 10 car this time.
That's a big crash, John.
Matt Bell.
That is a very big crash. Ash Samadi is behind the wheel of the Vodka number 7 car. Twice we've seen this today from 2 separate Bentleys, and that's the 10 car that Matt Bell has got to P5 side by side through the chase at 270 kilometres an hour. The crash structures in the SLS doing its job, backed into the wall.
What you've got there is a driver in the Bentley sitting on the right-hand side of the car, a driver in the SLS sitting on the left-hand side of the car. Matt Bell was alongside there. If you apply the B-pillar rule, as you were mentioning early on, he was deciding ahead into the turning area. I'd like to see how the stewards look at that one. We'll have a quick word with the Mayor before we've gone full course caution, so we've got an opportunity, Mr. Mayor. We think of this as a racetrack. It's part of an area of New South Wales that is chock full of things to see and do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, John. And look, us local Bathurstians, we're very proud of Mount Panorama and the significant asset that we have here. But in addition to that, as you rightfully say, there is so much more to Bathurst than this region, and we're very fortunate. You know, we have some pretty unique features here, and particularly amongst our museums. I mean, there is only one National Motor Racing Museum. There is only one Chifley Home, of course, and particularly our regions, you know, Hill End and Sofala, and the history they hold in Australia's history, really, with the gold rush and so forth, and many attractions for people to come and visit.
What's to come in the remainder of the Bathurst 200 celebrations? This is a great way to kick it off, an international event at arguably Bathurst's most famous location. We're live on 7, trending around Australia on Twitter, but there's some more major events to come throughout the year.
Oh, there certainly is. You know, in May of this year, it's when we actually turn 200. And we've got some significant events planned for that period of time. One is a lasting monument, of course, which will be the construction of a flagstaff, and it's a pretty significant size flagstaff too, I might add. But it forever will place Bathurst in Australia's history with the establishment of the settlement here.
Just finally, Mr. Mayor, if we can, thoughts about the racetrack. The council have invested in the racetrack, they've invested in the museum and some of the exhibits in there. You can't stand still on this. There's been changes since last year, and there are rumours about changes in the future. What can you tell us?
Yeah, look, it is, as you say, John, it's pretty significant to maintain a significant asset like this, and we will continue to invest in this very special place here. But we have other plans. You know, we're working through constructing a second circuit here at Mount Panorama.
It's very exciting stuff. Gary, thank you for joining us.
Richard.
Very much appreciated. Thank you to you and your organisation for their support of the race. It's very much appreciated, believe us.
Thanks again.
You heard it first here on 7, a second circuit to be constructed here at Mount Panorama. And thanks, by the way, to the whole of the council for our IT support from Luke and the rest of the guys, and the Mayor and all the people down at Bathurst Regional Council. We've got another chance to get away from the circuit without missing any action, so we'll take that, of course. Make sure you see as much of the green flag racing as possible. It's live and free on 7 with the Liqui Moly Bathurst, 12 hours for 2015.
Back to Mount Panorama. That was the damage to the Vodka Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG. We can hear more about that. Shay Adam is in their garage right now.
Dean, you and I were just unfortunately watching that replay. What happened? What was reported to you?
Look, that was the first time I saw it. I was actually in the cryo machine. I got out of the car, so that's the first time I saw it, and it looks like, you know, the Bentley's gone underneath, and there's plenty of room there, but he's just touched Ash and pushed him out on the grass, and you're doing 280. So there's nothing he could have done, and unfortunately that's ended a race, and we're going really well, you know.
We're getting another look at the replay here. Talk us through what you see happening.
Well, you know, there's room for 2 to go through there, but yeah, anyway, look, it's just unfortunate, you know. We're having such a good race and really enjoying it. The car was so strong. Yeah, really disappointing.
Did you find that the driving conditions were not as gentlemanly as they have been in the past? People not behaving themselves as much?
Oh, look, it certainly stepped up a level. There's no question, like all the pro teams and that, and you really have to watch your mirrors. They just fire it in their pro races, and you know, sometimes they've got to remember it's a 12-hour race, and I think the Bentley's lucky it didn't come off as well.
Sorry to see your race end that way.
Thank you.
So that's the news from the Vodka team. Dean Grant there, Melbourne publican, amongst other business ventures, quite accomplished racing car driver as well. And that team were very proud of themselves that they were the only Class A GT3 car without a gun pro driver in their lineup. They were just, as they said to me last night, 3 blokes having a go at Mount Panorama. So they were very, very enthusiastic. Ash Samadhi and Maxi Twig, who will race with Erebus in Australian GT this year full-time, really doing a great job so far this season. As we welcome our audience in the West, g'day WA, hope you're enjoying the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12-hour. We think we've got quite a motor race to unfold before us this afternoon. We've seen so much, we're about to go back to green. It's the Nissan GTR that leads the field to the green flag. And a record number of safety car laps have been logged today, but what we've seen between them has been pretty special. There's been great motor racing unfolding, and side-by-side battle here. The SLS goes up the inside of the Bentley into turn 1. That's the race leader, though. The car behind is driven by a very speedy Queenslander called David Russell. He's trying to unlap himself from the race leader and try and get themselves back into contention. And he's not too far away from doing that job.
Wouldn't be the worst thing to do for Chio-san, who's at the wheel of the Nissan, to let him go, unless he thinks he's going to hold him up and cost him lap time. He's not battling that Lambo behind him in the GTR. The headlamp's flashing, and Davo wants to be by, going through the cutting. The Nissan just takes a wee time longer to get heat and pressures into its tyres. The car you've got to watch is the 36 black Erebus Mercedes-Benz SLS, sitting third in that queue. There he is, coming up the top of the rise, heading up towards McPhillamy and across towards the top of the mountain.
So David Russell in that black Lamborghini that follows our race leader in the Nissan is 2 laps behind the race leader. If he passes the Nissan, he's 1 lap behind. And the difference is massive, because the next safety car that comes, he makes up a full 2 minutes and will rejoin the back of the freight train. And that buys him into the motor race. Then they only have to make up 6 kilometres more. And I know it sounds ridiculous, and it is a long way, but in a motor race this long, this tough and this brutal, it is a doable thing. So David needs to get past the number 35 Nissan.
And he pulls away from the Lamborghini. That Nissan is, I think, the second quickest car in a straight line. The Ferrari's, for me, still the quickest car in the straight line. And the...
I don't know, Hindy. I think the only car faster than it's the one behind the Lamborghini, which could be the SLS AMG.
I think, I'll be honest with you guys, I think by far the Nissan is the quickest thing in a straight line. An absolute rocket ship, and able not just to hold his line and pull away, but actually to make the moves too, without necessarily the use of the toe. It is a rocket ship down the mountain. It's a rocket ship up the mountain. It's across the mountain that we've seen the other cars pull back on the Nissan GTR. And it's all about whether or not Dean Canto can get past the Lamborghini. And this is where the Mercedes-Benz is strongest. He's got a bit of a toe.
I think the Lambo's a pretty good all-round package.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. It's a well-balanced car. And didn't we hear David Russell telling us that when we had him in the booth for the practicing qualifying day on Friday, he really loves driving this car. And what's not to like? Honestly, you'd drive a shed on wheels around Mount Panorama if you got the offer to do it. But this is a car that is well-suited. You've got to have a car that's a good compromise.
And there's life in the old bull, yeah. This is obviously an older spec car, but there's a new 2015 spec coming from the Writer Engineering team, as well as the new factory-backed Huracan. There is a new REX version of the Garda, which has got a hugely wide rear end on it. So who knows in a year or so's time, with if the rules stay the same with the year's homologation on these cars, you might see that car around the mountain.
Let's look a little bit further back towards the Century Batteries GT3 class. This is the number 47 Superbarn Supermarkets Porsche. It is your class leader at the moment. They are scored in 18th outright. Theo Konduris is behind the wheel. He and his brother James are the men behind Superbarn Supermarkets, Canberra boys. Great supporters and long-time competitors in Porsche one-make racing. They sort of stepped back from the sport for the last couple of years to focus on their business commitments, but decided to come back. They had the Cup S Porsche that we see on screen now in the shed and decided, well, why not? Let's have a go. They put together a very strong Porsche-oriented team because with them is Marcus Marshall, who raced Carrera Cup here, has raced at the highest level indeed in IndyCar racing and Champ Car in the States. And with them is Sam Power, a fantastic young rising star of Australian motorsport who finished inside the top 5 in Carrera Cup Australia last year as a rookie, first time in Tin Top racing after years in Australian Formula Ford. And next year, will be racing in Porsche Super Cup internationally, which is an amazing thing. So that Class B car, it's a battle on there, but they've got a lap or two up their sleeve from the number 4 Grove Group car, the entry with Ben Barker behind the wheel, 20th outright at the moment.
Quick glance at Terry Knight there in the LHI Cup car, the Class B Century Batteries car, chasing them down at the moment.
We watch the cars coming down Cumberland Straight again. Actually, I think for the first time in the race, it's not a Class B car that is the first non-Class A thing in the order, because what's in 16th position now is the number 93 car. That's Ben Jerzakowski in the 93 Mark Focus V8. That car is just gradually making its way up the order. It may be 5 laps off the overall lead, but that's a very good place for that car to be at this stage of the race.
Only 5 laps off. I heard from Ryan McLeod, who's put this whole Mark Cars Australia program together, and he's starting to shuffle around for a decrease in the time that they're allowed to do. During the race, that car's not allowed to go quicker than a 2-minute 12. It's basically to stop the one-off enduro specials from someone putting a 1,000 horsepower engine into something completely exotic and going out and destroying the field. So they're allowed to run to a benchmark time of 2-minute 12. Ryan's going, let us off the leash. We want to go a bit quicker. We're not going to be GT3 spec fast, but we can go faster. But at this point, he's very happy that those cars are up racing with the Class B Porsches.
The 54 Donut King Lotus leads Richards Class C. This is effectively a GT4 category, and Chris Porritt was just in for our international audience a few moments ago, back in the Aston Martin again, over from the United States, where he's now looking after the development of Tesla cars out in Fremont, California. They're battling with this car. The Aston's just at a pit stop, so it's a little bit further back down the road. That's the dark grey St. Gallen machine, which I'm so pleased to see that customer EMR team back again at the mountain, because they've had horrid luck over the last few years. Indeed, Chris Porritt's last race was here in 2012, and he suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and someone else's accident early on.
They were one of the first teams to enter the race this year. That's how keen they were. They had their entry in by August and all announced and set to go. They were super keen to come back.
Still on the same lap as the Lotus is the grey Aston Martin. Flat grey looks fantastic on that race car. Purple and black looks even more fantastic on this little Lotus. Brand new car here this weekend for Tony Alford, the Donut King race team. What a fantastic looking livery that is on a car, and certainly Chris Porritt was telling me they're nip and tuck around the mountain, but once the thing actually kicks out and down Conrod Straight, this thing, because it's so light, can pick up speed, gets the traction down very, very well.
V6 in the Lotus of
Toyota V6
origin, yeah.
So if you've got a Toyota Camry of recent vintage, it's basically the same engine. It's just a little bit quicker.
Currently 27th outright as well. The Class C cars have been towards the bottom end of the timing monitor for much of the weekend, but chipping away in this race, and Tony Alford behind the wheel, 27th overall. We go back, GWS personnel bringing us the Class D Invitational production car as we look at a vehicle that is officially the most successful car in Bathurst 12-hour history. This is a car that won the race twice outright in the production car era. It's since been developed and it's grown a rear wing and it's got slick tyres and different racing car drivers. This is an amazing race car. The BMW 335i Turbo first raced here in 2007, and the 12-hour return to the Australian motorsport scene. It has contested every race since.
And is leading its category at the moment. The 28 car, Rick Short, Jake Williams, Matt Charder and Steve Devjak with the 335i. It's still a good-looking car, that, isn't it? When you see it coming up the mountain, in isolation, that looks like a pretty mean-looking racing car. Then when you put the GT3 cars, wow, you could drive that to the supermarket.
We were talking about Andy Priaulx, weren't we? It's got the look of a WTCC car, yes, from Andy's kind of era in the WTCC, winning those World Championships, hasn't it?
How's this for a record? As we just want to touch on that BMW very, very quickly, John. 2007 won its class. 2008 won its class. 2009 third. 2010 won it outright. 2011 second in its class. 2012 third in its class. 2013 won its class. 2014 second in class. That car has not finished off the podium in its class in 10 years here.
Here's the Recaro Class I Invitational for the endurance cars. It's bounced backwards and forwards, the lead here, between two of the Mark Cars Australia vehicles, which are exactly the same underneath. It's a space frame with a big V8 up front. This is the Focus, the 93 car. The 91, new for this race, and the debuting Mazda 3 V8 shape has been bouncing backwards and forwards depending on the pit stop strategy. This is a brilliant concept. I've seen them at Zandvoort, at Dubai, and in other endurance races, and they're really honing the reliability as well as the speed of these cars. They could go quicker, as Krilsey was saying earlier, but for the reference time, I understand why that's put in, and of course, it's not meant to embarrass anybody else, but this is a concept I think has legs.
Yeah, and it's amazing too. Almost entirely built, developed, engineered, and parts sourced from within a 200, 250k range within Brisbane and the Gold Coast.
It's
in
Aussie.
Queensland. It's an Australian car. Chassis designed by Paul Sepranich, Pace Innovations. Ryan McLeod ties it all together. It is outstanding stuff. Meanwhile, we have a battle for the race lead on our hands. This is the Nissan, followed by the Mercedes with Dean Canto. Behind them, still that Lamborghini trying to get its lap back.
And almost tripped over Di Gio there, back marker. That almost gave Dean Canto a chance to get up the inside, but the straight line speed of the GTR just too much.
That is the battle for the lead. We've been keeping an eye on it while we give you the other class leaders. Nothing happening just yet, but now Canto gets a run down towards the final corner, and Chio realises the danger and goes very defensive. He'll try the comeback. Dean on the inside almost gets the overlap. Now Chio can't come over any further. They go down the hell corner. There's a tiny overlap, but no, Dean drops back to the right-hand side. Chio looks absolutely unflappable in that Nissan.
Here we go.
Here's the traffic. This could be it, as the SLS tucks right underneath the rear wing of the GTR. This is proper Bathurst battles up the mountain straight, and Chio defensive early for the Griffin Bend, the right-hander up the mountain straight.
So the experience and guile of Dean Canto, and plenty of miles here at Mount Panorama, taking on what we think is the fastest car in a straight line, full stop this weekend, with the young Japanese driver who has, I think, come of age and become a proper star with his performance this weekend. He leads the race. He's under all kinds of pressure. And this is a sensational battle. 3 hours and 38 to go in the race. And this is the fight for the lead. And it could very well be the fight for the lead with 3 minutes and 38 to go.
We jumped out of our seats, we saw that. They went to the in-car for Chio, and it just looked like he was cool. The cucumber-flavoured paddle pop, didn't he, at that stage? And amazing stuff from the young Japanese.
And it's been pointed out to me on Twitter as well, the 36 SLS is actually dropping bits. It's lost its badge on the grille, it's missing part of the grille, so it's losing weight. So
that's exactly it. It's a lightning programme they've actually got.
The thing you put me on that as well, Erebus, please. That would be really good if I could lose a little bit of weight. Far too good hospitality around the Bathurst area. Some fine hostelries and eateries around here. And at the moment, the SLS is trying to get back on terms with the Nissan. But wow, that Nissan is quick in a straight line. We've seen the SLS with a straight line speed advantage in the last few years. Nissan have been rather hamstrung by their fuel allowance. They could be fast, but they burn a lot of fuel, and we saw in the last couple of years they had that option along with the SLS to be given a slightly bigger fuel tank this year, and that has allowed them to run faster and longer.
We ride on board with David Russell. Do you know what he's thinking right now? Righto, Dino, we've raced each other for a long time. Throw it up the inside, make both of you run wide, and I'll get a lap back. Yeah, that's what I want right now.
9th of the minute is David Russell.
But he's got a bird's eye view, and they just take some evasive action. The Sharon Rentals BMW down at turn 1, one of the Class D GWS personnel invited production cars. What a fight.
And again now, a little bit of breathing space for Chio. And here comes the Bentley in the background as well. And that is the number 8. In comes Matt Bell into the pit lane, the number 10 car, sitting in 5th position.
Not sure if that's entirely a scheduled stop from that car. They were in lap 171, and we've seen today with all the safety cars that it is possible to go 32, 34 laps on a stint. And because he's driven the whole way through pit lane without stopping, I'd suggest that was enforced by our friends in race.
Another. That will be for contact with the vodka or SLS.
Correct.
Okay.
Through penalty for car 10.
Well, avoidable contact is what we used to call it in the States. It was avoidable.
And it was contact.
It was contact. I'm put my 2 cents worth in and say it was avoidable by both drivers, not just the Bentley.
I have to say, I tend to agree. At first sight, just seeing it as it passed by on the TV coverage, it did look a bit 50-50, but I saw Matt with his nose ahead into that corner.
Problem is that you can't take somebody else's line, Graham, and I accept that as well. And there's 2 sides to every story. You know, maybe, and I know this shouldn't be the case, but maybe the severity of the impact has slightly affected the decision there. If there'd just been a side-by-side contact and they'd continued.
That and the sort of unspoken rule that you just don't go side-by-side through the chase.
Correct.
Rather tragically, we're getting a bit of a Twitter war at the moment between the relative PR guys of Aston Martin Racing back in the UK and Bentley. Who are you? Is being tweeted at the moment.
Yeah, massive reach from those 2 brands on Twitter, and they've been going at it since practice on Friday, actually, for Best of British honours.
Yeah, absolutely true. At the moment, that is held by Aston Martin, with Darrell Young in 3rd position in the 97 Craft Racing car. It's great to have those 2 great brands, and they are worldwide brands, of course. Bentley and Aston Martin. Aston Martin consistently voted the coolest brand in the world. Not anything, not just car brands, by the way.
I'm not sure how it couldn't be. Amazing cars, road cars and race cars alike. Just thinking back the last time the V12 car won at Mount Panorama, and I'm going to go to 1985 and the debut of the Group A era.
Was this the XJS?
The Walkinshaw XJS.
Wow.
Dark green.
Saw that car yesterday.
Yeah, beautiful thing.
We talked a little earlier, guys, about the variety of cars and the number of nationalities coming here. I think I'm right. We've got 7 different nationalities of driver in the top 8 at the moment. It is the growth of this race and the reach of this race has just gone so far, so fast. It's remarkable.
Let's give some pats on the back to people that deserve it, because they've managed to get cars into the top 10 that weren't there earlier, or they've had serious issues. Benny Simonson behind the wheel of the 49 Vicious Rumour Racing Ferrari. Those guys have just circulated, stayed out of any form of drama today.
And they started 50th.
And last, absolutely.
42 positions made up in the afternoon, so the day so far. Benny and the boys.
And if you're wondering, Benny is indeed the brother of the late, great Alan Simonson, who was a great friend of all of ours here in Australia. So much so we named our pole position trophy after him, won yesterday by the Audi team and Lawrence Ventnor. First time that Benny had come to race in Australia, and he's just been so well embraced and become part of this Vicious Rumour Racing team. Tony DeFelice, who's the team owner there, stepped out of that car a week ago to put Benny in. And I think it's paid dividends, because not only has he been very, very fast, that car has too. And so too, Hector Lester, I noticed, is in the paddock too. British GT co-driver for Benny now, and Alan before.
Absolutely, and I think Benny's having the race of his life here. It's absolutely fantastic form. It does have the look of Alan about him. A little taller, I think, but he's a quick boy.
Loving the split screen on the stream at the moment that shows Matt Bell and the calmness behind the wheel and what's going on outside, really belying just how economic of movement now goes on the brakes for the Michelin Chase 7. Have always pioneered some great onboard shots, and the fisheye in the cab has been, and in the cockpit has been massively successful this year. You're tweeting us hashtag B12HR saying how much you like that one, and the one directly above the driver in the squirt car as well. But just look how calm, how collected Matt is as he comes down, brakes now and turns in to the left-hander, runs out a little bit of curve there. No hands coming off the wheel anymore, of course, because it's just a flick of the second finger Now there is the leader. Where is the Erebus Mercedes? He's less than a second away, and there's traffic now for Chio-san. This is danger time. There's no way through here. We know he is very, very patient indeed. Watch in the background. You can't get through that. Good blue flags waving now. The Porsche moves out the way. Great driving by everybody. Great flagging by the marshals as well. And look in the background, there's Dean Canto. He's coming. He's got past the Lamborghini that was between them a little while ago. Had a little bit of a nibble round the back of the Nissan, and now once again has only one car between them. Graham.
What helped him there was the fact that not only did the leader have traffic, but also so did the Erebus car, because the Mark V8 Mazda 3 got between the two of them. That's what saved Chio from actually having his mirrors all the way full of Mercedes-Benz, and it got him to the position on this track where he's at his strongest in the straight line. And once he was there, he was gone. And here he comes down pit road now. Chio pits from the lead. That will put the number 36 car through the lead of this motor race.
So, pit stop for the Nissan. Dean Canto assumes the race lead. And from my maths, this looks right on schedule for the Nissan. Lap 189 for Chio. Oh, that's a brilliant stint. That has been a very good stint. And more dramas for the number 73 Ginetta.
This is one of the GT4, the Class C machines, the richest GT4 category, and that's an under-bonnet fire, I'd wager there. And the way that the driver is bailing out, he's not liking the smell of that either. There's nothing worse than flames being seen underneath the bonnet, and trust me, I know, I've had it happen to me. Fortunately, it was just a little bit of blowback from the carburetors of the car that I was driving. Yes, I am that old.
It's Wolfie Reed getting aboard the Nissan as the dramas continue to reflect the Ginetta.
I can think of worse drivers to put behind the wheel after his stint this morning. They've got three very strong, very consistent drivers, and we're getting a safety car. So we've seen a record number of safety car laps today on the mountain. We're one away from our record number of safety car interruptions, 15 in 2013. This makes it number 14 for the day.
Should point out, by the way, guys, of course, it does lead its class. This is in the amateur class, the 35 car. And second at the moment in the amateur class is Benny Simonson, 8th position overall.
I don't think anyone would object to him getting a trophy at about...
I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it. Find some wood really quickly.
Out goes the 35. And that is Wolfie Reed just getting himself settled in the car. This may play nicely for them as Dean Canto has gone through and resumed the lead. Don't like the look of that black smoke coming out from under the bonnet there. And it happened very, very quickly, coming through the Michelin chase. And it looks like there's some fluid coming out of that car as well. And that's a big bailout by the driver. He knows he's got issues. Might even be struggling on his own oil there. Might be a bit of an oil fire underneath the engine compartment, but black smoke from an engine normally means something severely an issue.
Michael Hovey behind the wheel of that car at the moment, and now running away from it, as you would. Black smoke pouring from
he's hit the
Ginetta GT4.
He's hit the under-bonnet extinguisher about 3 or 4 metres further back. As I said, the only time this has happened to me, I was lucky enough to be able to blip the throttle, kill the engine and stop the flyer. But this looks like it's something a little more serious than that. Let's head down into the pit lane and to the Phoenix garage. Here's Mark.
Yeah, Marco Mappelli with me, car number 15 has been the one they've been chasing all weekend. And Marco, right now you've got a bit of work to do. You want to get that car back up into the podium.
Oh, definitely it's a tough race. Obviously, the strategy, fuel strategy, will be the main issue, or main point for the win the race. So we are still fighting for the win, and we're going to push so very, very hard.
Okay, what happens from here for you guys?
Well, Marcos has to finish his stint, then I jump in, and then Lawrence is in.
Okay, so race to the line. The next few hours, it's on.
Yeah, definitely, it's going to be on fire.
Tell us about your recovery, getting out of the car. I mean, we know it's hot out there at the moment. The track's about 50 degrees and the car's close to 60. How do you recover between stints?
Just drink a lot. We do a massage, and then we just have some food, get change, and relax, actually. Yeah.
So you're ready to go again?
Yeah, of course.
All right, Marco, good luck out there. Good to see you.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, we've got the opportunity to get a breakaway whilst the safety car is out. So let's do that, because we know that you hate missing racing as much as we do. And we'll be back after the clear-up and the smouldering Ginetta with more live and free Bathurst Liqui Moly 12 hours here on 7. Well, this is our 15th safety car, as the Flatty is back out again, this time for the 73 Ginetta G50, sort of dishevelled at the moment and in a state of dishabille, slight undress. And this is why. Look to the left of the picture on the Maguire's replay coming down through the Michelin chase. And you can see there's already trouble for that car with some kind of fluid and smoke coming out the back of it early on, and it looks like the V6 engine has given up in the biggest possible way, and from that it goes to black smoke from under the bonnet very quickly, and it's time then to bail out. You don't have to be any kind of good in the way you do it or stylish. You want to be out of there as quick as possible. Pull the fire extinguisher and get out.
Yeah, part of the regulations around going car racing these days, every car needs to have an internal firebomb system so they can push it on the dash. The marshals can push it from the outside of the car as well to get any potential blaze out very, very quickly. They're very powerful, the internal fire support systems on these cars.
What you normally have is one for the interior of the car and one for the engine bay area as well. And the first thing that you always do when you get into a race car is to make sure that the safety pin for that is pulled out. Let's head down to the Donut King. Adam, sorry, I'll put a colon in there. Let's head down to the Donut King. Adam.
That's, no matter how you say it, John, it's not going to come out the way you intend it to. I'm here with the Donut King, Tony Alford, and you've just gotten out of the class-leading C car Lotus. Beautiful paint scheme, first off, let me just say. The pink really stands out on the track, but it also just stands out because it's led for most of the day. You're familiar with leading at this track. How's your race been going?
The race has been going well. It's a very good contest between the Donut King Lotus and the Aston Martin. We're swapping leads, and it's really good. The heat's, I think, taking it out of all the cars out there, particularly the smaller cars, the smaller capacity cars, and we certainly have timing coming out of the car, and that loses horsepower. But beautiful day, you know, couldn't ask for more.
And the heat's taking it out of the drivers as well as everyone else on the pit lane, but you're currently plugged into your cool suit. Will you be getting back in for another stint?
Well, for a start, I didn't have a cool suit in the car, and I didn't have water in the car, so I am quite hot. But yes, hopefully I'll get back in for the last stint.
And what's the plan from here on out?
We just keep going and, you know, just run our own race, set our own pace, and we're either there at the end or we're not.
Would you rather have a 12-lap lead or be having this great fun battle with the Aston Martin?
A 12-lap lead, thank you.
And that from the Donut King, you would like to have his little bit of a buffer.
No, keep talking. We're busy here, and there's no time for this. I tell you what.
I know.
See what I have to work on here. So we need to go to a break. We'll be back on 7, live and free, with more from Liqui Moly Bathurst. 12 hours for 2015. At the end of this.
We're back at Mount Panorama. The Liqui Moly Bathurst 12-hour continues. Plenty of colour and action in the paddock, which has been full since the very start of this race weekend. 3 hours and 16 minutes left on the clock, 192 laps in the books. One man who's just jumped out of the number 32 Lamborghini David Russell. He's down in pit lane and he's talking to Mark Beretta.
Yeah, great stint, Dave Russell, too. Started, about 15th, worked your way up 6 places to 9th. That's a great effort.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, other than the actual places, we got a lap back at the end there. We were 2 laps down. We had a drama with a rim earlier today, then wheel nut problem. So that's sort of the start of the race. We were P3. We've dropped 2 laps. We were way down to, in the 20s. And we chipped away, and that session I knew I had to just muscle my way up to the front. We get a safety car and just try and get up to the front of the pack so that, if the leaders in front of us pitted, which they did, we could get the lucky dip run through and get the safety car. So we had a bit of strategy to play in. We didn't have to play that out in that particular instance, but Steve-O's in for a stint. It was pretty hot. We ran out of the cool suit. It was like a hot water bottle then, so I'm a little bit hot and bothered, but I'm ready for another stint to finish the race.
Right, so cool down and go again. Yeah. You had a great tangle with one of the guys who's always a hard racer, John Bow, out there. Yeah,
like Bow, he's a tough competitor, but he's fair at the same time. He's not going to sort of cut in front of you or anything like that. He races hard and fair, and that's the way I like it. So he made me earn it, and to get that spot was big for us because we could really make some inroads, move forward and move up to the back of those leaders. Had a good dice with Chio and Canto. They had the blue flags out for me, which obviously means that being a lapped car, if I'd hung out, I had the same pace as those guys. So if I'd hung out and Canto was behind me, I probably would have got a bad sportsmanship flag. So I let him pass at turn 2 and just sat behind him and just thought, well, I'll see what plays out in front. They might tangle trying to get to the lead, and I'll cruise on through and get my lap back. So I'm happy we're only 1 lap down, and hopefully we'll be on the lead lap. If Steve-O can make some inroads, we might be, on the lead lap, in his stint. So fingers crossed.
You're still chasing a podium?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's on.
Good stuff. Yep. Love it, Dave. Yep. Rest up, mate. See you soon.
Thank you.
Aston Martin leading on the pit stop cycle. I think that's the first time that AMR and the 97 car have been at the head of the timing and scoring. It's Marcus Wilkenhock in second place in the 15 Audi, then the 16. That's team cars, 2 of the Phoenix cars, second and third, and then Matt Bell in 4th position in the Bentley. How did we get here? As the talking heads once said. Well, we'll give you a look back at some of the highlights that we've had recently and our Maguire's recap. It's been action all the way since we went green at 10 to 6 this morning.
It's all shaping up too for a remarkable finish, and the events that led us to it have been pretty exciting as well. We take a look back. This resulted in a drive-through penalty for car 10. Much worse for the Vodka-O SLS. Hefty rear impact into the wall at the Michelin Chase, and that car out of the race. Car number 7 were running strongly on their own in Class A. This was a great fight. Yeah, Chio in the Nissan GTR with Dean Canto in the Erebus Mercedes, dueling for the race lead. This was with more than 3.5 hours remaining in the motor race.
Close, look how close the front of that car was to the back of the Nissan.
This has caused some recent dramas. The number 73, Janetta Michael Hovey, was behind the wheel of the Triffid number 73 car and pulled off to the side of the road. Some form of fire or something might not have been on fire, but it was pretty smoky under the bonnet of that car. And that has brought out the safety car for a record number of times today and a record number of laps. What it is ensuring, though, is it's keeping everybody that's in this game, everyone that's playing to win this motor race, on the lead lap and within 15 or 16 seconds of everybody. So it's keeping a lot of cars in contention for a race when otherwise perhaps they might not be. So this is going to shape up to an amazing finish.
Just looking at a tweet from Erebus Motorsport with a very, very damaged rim that's come off their lead car. They were really lucky to get that one back without any issues. And Jack LeBrock was very... seeing Dean Canto very lucky to get to the end of the stint with the rim bent as where it is. If you're not on social media, you need to be, because you're missing so much that's going on from the teams and drivers. And don't forget to use the hashtag B12HR as we're getting ready to go back to green. Everybody closing up this time. They've learned their lessons, and it's the Clearwater Ferrari that sits in behind the leader. Is this another chance for a lap back for Matt Griffin, the very rapid Irishman? Oh, almost got caught out by the lead car slowing down there. Matt knows he can't overlap. He's not battling for the lead, but he is battling to get a lap back. He's 2 back at the moment, and he wants to get one of those back as soon as we go green flag, which is happening right now with 3 hours and 11 minutes to go. And he doesn't get the run on the leader as Darrell O'Young heads towards Hell Corner for the 195th time of asking. The battles go on further back down the field, and now the Ferrari, which is very, very slippery indeed, will drag up to the back of the Aston Martin. The interesting thing is we've got Winkelhock right there, and that is the battle for the lead. And Winkelhock will try and pull out and use Matt as a little bit of a drafting partner. There is the Bentley number 11. That one's out of the chase at the moment in 12th position. Maxi Burke there behind the wheel. He will not give an inch either.
Yeah, so Maxi Book's still 2 laps off the lead. That team, or that part of that team, came back from it 2 years ago, but with 3 hours and 10, I'm not sure they can do it now. The interest is, can Clearwater get one of their 2 lost laps back? And can Marcus Winkelhock follow him through on Darrell O'Young, the 2-time winner of the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 Hour? He won then with Audi. He's now with Aston Martin, a team he's got heavy involvement in, Craft Bamboo Racing, out of Hong Kong. Fantastically professional operation, amazing setup down below us in the pit lane garages, and he's pressing on.
We're about to get John's theory a little earlier as to how quick that Ferrari is in a straight line tested.
Yeah.
If Matt Griffin can get alongside and buy that Aston Martin, it will show that we've got one of the quickest cars in a straight line. Also watched, by the way, further back down this train, a change for the lead in Class C. The last 2 remaining cars, Donut King Lotus, got by the Aston Martin on the restarts. I don't know whether or not he slightly jumped the gun. It was very, very close.
That's a great little fight, isn't it? The race within a race within a race. The Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 out. Here's the Ferrari. So we need to see if that 33 car can use the toe from the 97 Aston Martin. Well, the answer is not quite. He's there or thereabouts, but not quite enough to make any impact. What do you
do if you're Darrell O'Young? Do you let him go if he gets close enough? Because you don't want him muscling his way by, do you?
No, you don't. But I tell you what, if it comes down to the final lap and Matt Griffin finds his other lap that they've lost, and it comes down to a race between the 2 of them, he's probably rude letting him past.
He's got him here. If he wants it, he's going to take it here. Now, Darrell O'Young can help, or he can fight it as they go down to Hell Corner for the 196th lap.
To get up the inside, we're looking a little bit further back in the number 10 Bentley, so we can't quite see if Matt Griffin's able to get by. We know it's not a fight for the lead, but it is important because the race's overall balance, it will play out as the race goes on, and Winkelhock's trying as well. He's right in there. Griffin to the inside at turn 2. He'd have to come from a long way back to get through, which he does not do.
Nice of you to name a corner after him, though, Griffin Spence. He was very impressed with that when he got here.
I believe he was. Why not make a move there at some stage? We'll need to get a good run out of Hell Corner to do it. So, leader, lapped car, trying to get back into the fight. Second place is in the queue with Marcus Winkelhock, and then the Bentley just tagging on to the back of the queue as well.
Yeah, that is not the 4th place car, though. We're looking for the 16 of Haase before that. That is the 11, isn't it, of Maxi Burke? He's in there. And he will be trying to get laps back as well. Just a little bit of a dark line up the back of the Bentley over the top of the exhaust pipes. Tends to make me think they've been running that car just a little bit rich. A little bit of unburnt fuel being coming out of that on the downshifts, maybe.
There's Hasse, just at the top of shot in that brightly coloured number 16 car.
There he is. So now he's going to get in behind the Bentley and get a tow down Conrod Straight. This might actually help him.
Not for position. He's trying to get up behind the black Audi there with the Kangaroo up the side. That's his teammate, Marcus Winkelhock.
I love this type of racing. You've got first lap car, second lap car, third, all sitting there, and they're all battling as hard as can be. Felix Baumgartner there, the Red Bull Stratos space jumper, sitting waiting for his turn, looking at the Audi, now firmly a fixture in Audi's endurance plans after making his racing debut at the Nürburgring 24 hours. Actually, not his racing debut, you wouldn't allow him to do that. It was the first big race. He'd already done some training and some VLN races on the Nordschleife, so let's not think that you can just jump into that race as if nothing at all. That's not the case, of course.
So, who's where on the racetrack? Darrell O'Young, 2:07.45. His first full proper flying lap after the recent safety car. Winkelhock, 2:07.7, slightly slower than the Craft Aston Martin. Hasse, a 7:35. Matt Bell, 7:7. Richard Muscat, a 9:3. I think in traffic in the 36 Erebus SLS AMG. So great pace at the front of the field. but nothing to separate the 4 cars at the very front of this ultra-competitive queue.
Very impressed with Darrell Young's form in this Aston Martin. He's clearly got himself dialed into this GT3 car at this Bathurst circuit.
I've got a dictionary here, and if you look at versatility, then you do get a picture of Darrell Young. He's driven Porsche Carrera Cup, he's driven touring cars.
WTCC.
He's driven World Touring cars.
Macau specialist.
Front engine, rear engine, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive. He has done it all.
He's what's also looking here under Smarty Pants, and he's there as well.
That's very good. Actually, a very unassuming young man.
Great. He's great.
Great to talk to. Has a myriad of stories, most of which are unsuitable for primetime network television.
Absolutely.
And certainly no inroads being made by Marcus Winkelhock to try and get through on that very, very fast Aston. This is a little bit more like it from the Aston. They've been thereabouts all day, but we haven't quite seen the raw speed and ability to race wheel to wheel with the cars. It's nice to see that now. So we know what 97's got up its sleeve for a little bit later on. We say there's 3 hours to go. What we mean is there's only 3 hours to go. It's not a long time in the context of this motor race.
And they're 3 hours for a GT3 car. It's a sprint race. These cars perfectly capable of racing 110% over these kind of distances. 12 hours, it's been hammer and tongs. Yes, we've had a safety car interruptions, but while these cars have been running green, it has been nose-to-tail, wheel-to-wheel stuff.
Matt Griffin still shadowing the Aston Martin, still just a few tenths behind, and Young with a 7-0, Griffin with a 7-0 last time by as well, so he's absolutely matching toe for toe the Aston Martin that leads the race. He just needs to find a way by. It's a great battle between the different brands at the very front end of the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12-hour. Aston Martin leading the race. Ferrari a lap down, but with great speed. Audi second. Bentley a lap down, but we've got speed in those cars, and one of them is in contention. It's the number 10 car with Matt Bell.
Christopher Haase flashing his lights at Matt Griffin. I'm afraid you're going to have to get rather close to the back of the Ferrari than that, if that's going to make any difference, Christopher, because Matt Griffin can sniff the opportunity here that if there's any kind of error whatsoever from Darrell Young, he's back and another lap back towards the lead of this race. John.
Just taking in a message on Twitter with the hashtag B12HR from Bernard Cottrell. Great to hear from you, first of all, Bernard. I know you've not been very well recently. One of the foremost race directors in the UK, and he's sent a very simple message. When people ask me why I give so much of my time up to motor racing, I'm now just going to answer this. Can't argue with that, BC. Good to hear from you. Back in the wee small hours of the morning at 10 minutes to 4, back in the UK, watching the international coverage here on Channel 7, live and free from Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours 2015, with just on 3 hours and a couple of minutes to run.
Matt still is looking very racy here.
Yeah,
he's got a bit of a run. He's looking to see whether or not there might be any kind of space. And this is where Christopher Haase has got to watch himself. He's getting himself a little bit worked up about Matt Griffin ahead of him. He's going to have to worry a little bit more about Matt Bell behind him.
Yeah, we're not far away from pit stops too, and that's Marco Mappelli down at Phoenix Racing, not far away from jumping into this car, the Kangaroo Audi Phoenix Racing, that currently sits second in the race. Hugely consistent fast lap times from Marcus Winkelhock.
Yeah, don't forget that first Bentley is Maxi Book, who is down in 12th position and off the lead lap at the moment. We'll keep our eyes on the battle as it heads up the mountain straight. Let's go to Shea Adam in the pit lane.
Well, I checked in with the managing director of Craft Bamboo to try and find out what Matt Griffin would have to do to be let by, if you will, by Darrell Young, and the answer was quite a bit. They like having that one-car buffer between themselves and the Audi, and in fact, they're even hopeful that Matt might drop back a little bit and give the Audi some trouble and let the Aston Martin run off into the distance, but highly unlikely given the Irishman's temperament behind the wheel of the car, let's say. But the Craft Bamboo guys have told Darrell Young, do not let Matt Griffin pass.
They're worried about the end game, aren't they? They are worried about the end game in this race, and that car might well buy itself into a fight for the lead. It's starting to build here at Mount Panorama. There are 3 hours to go on the mountain. We'll duck away for a short break and come back with a great race on the other side of this.
is the number 10 Bentley of Matt Bell, now fully returned to healthy 11, just a little bit further up the finish in 4th position. There was a racing driver in the pit lane. He just needed to add water to get him back. Matt Bell, you see, you can pack him small and then just rehydrate him when you get to the track.
Put those little sponges.
Great. Yeah.
What we're watching here is a fascinating battle of 2 cars trying to drag themselves back into contention in and amongst the 2 race leaders. So the Aston Martin Vantage, driven by Darrell O'Young, a double winner of this race, leads the way. Between he and the car in 2nd place, the number 15 Kangaroo, we're calling it Audi, driven by Marcus Winkelhock, is a fiery Irishman called Matt Griffin, and the guy that was 2nd here last year called Maximilian Book. They're trying to drag back a lap and get themselves back 1 lap behind the race leader. Now, it might not sound like a massive difference, but I can assure you, being 1 lap behind is so much better than being 2 laps behind. The next safety car, they make up plenty of time, and then they become back in contention for the motor race. What Darrell O'Young has been told to do, and what he is doing successfully at the moment, is keeping them behind. That is a team that doesn't want any more people trying to challenge them for victory in the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 Hour. So it's a race of 2 at the moment. It's a race between the 1st and 2nd place cars and 2 guys trying to get themselves into the final stage of this battle.
And the man who's stopping them from doing that's a very, very impressive stint from Darrell O'Young.
Yeah, I agree. And you've got 2 very, very good drivers behind them in Maxi Book in the Bentley and Matt Griffin, who of course has his own agenda. Both those guys do. 2 Phoenix cars. Now here's something I'm going to throw out here, guys. Do you get those guys to start working together? They're not close enough to pick up the tour right now. Now here is something on the mountain straight. I've just wondered if there was going to be a change on the track there to see if one car is perhaps feeling stronger than the other, and the 15 and the 16 might just swap around a little bit and see if they can do a little bit of aerodynamic drafting to help them along.
Yeah, perhaps, but I don't think we're too far away from stops either. We saw Marco Mappelli sitting down in the Phoenix bunker at the very end of pit lane, ready and rearing to go. So I'm not too sure you'd bother too much with that kind of stuff when you're a lap or 2 out from a pit stop.
True enough.
Aston, Ferrari, 1 and 2, up to Reed Park, through Solomon Park, across the top of the mountain. There's the metal grate, and towards McPhillamy, best bit of racing tarmac anywhere in Australia. And if you talk to some of these drivers, possibly in the world.
Yeah.
And Darrell O'Young doing a superb job out in front. This guy's raced just about everything, and a huge build-up to this event. Massive job, rebuilt both cars from ground up, and it's been a big weekend for the team as well. The 97 car's been pretty much trouble-free, touch wood for them so far. The 99, the sister car, has been through, well, to the ringer and back, let's be honest, involved in a big crash on Friday. Yeah. Had a huge job to put a new front end in that car, straightened it up, got it back out there. It's had a couple of issues early in the race. It currently sits 23rd with Jean-Marc Merlin behind the wheel.
Yeah, great to see that we've clocked up over 200 laps already and still got a shade under 3 hours to go. Now, the Donut King Lotus is in the mix as well, as is the number 50 Porsche. This is danger time for Darrell O'Young. He has to pick his line. He has to watch what's going on, not just behind him, but also ahead of him. Where's Matt Griffin? Answer picking his way through. And the Bentley still there as well, but this is the opportunity, surely, for the Phoenix cars. Not through the middle. Surely it can't be done. For Christopher Haase, well, he's having a wee look at us at the moment, but just not able to get through. The 32 sitting further back down the running at the moment, 10th position. Steve Owen at the wheel of that car.
So they've just dropped a little bit behind the leaders, but they're now only a lap and a half back. So the next time there's a safety car, and as much as we don't particularly want one, it's almost inevitable that there will be, given the record number we've had so far today. They then find themselves plenty of time and start to get themselves back into contention.
Mark Catterall has tweeted to us using the hashtag B12HR. I don't know where you are in the world, Mark, but I'm suggesting it's not in Australia, as it sounds a little bit of a sleepy tweet, but he's saying, who needs sleep? Epic Racing, and this, by the way, is a T-shirt. Mark Catterall, TM. Who needs sleep? Epic Racing is caffeine for the soul. Love it. On board with the Lambo.
Back in 10th position, the Lamborghini Gallardo. And next target for Steve Owen is Jean-Bal. And the number 8 Flying B car. You can see that just ahead.
Which is the white Bentley taking up the left-hand side of the road, going underneath the Pettus Bridge and up towards Griffin Bend. He's just not quite close enough, but gee, that Lambo's good on the brakes. Up into Griffin Bend and heading up the hill here.
Pulled some time out of Bow last time round as well, so Owen ticking off the laps in car 32. We ride on board left of screen. We see him right there is Steve. Hugely experienced around this place, and a good get for Roger Largo, the team owner here.
Agreed.
A great story yesterday in qualifying when they qualified on the front row. David Russell did the time, but great team performance. Outfit from Brisbane. Most of the guys that work on this car are part-time, if only race weekend guys employed by Roger to run it. Not really any full-time staff. It's not a professional racing car team. Taking on the might of the factory Nissan and factory Audi squads that were either side of them in the press conference yesterday afternoon. And it really shows that GT3 racing can be a great leveller. You've got smart people. It doesn't matter if you're a mega budget factory team or a little outfit from a suburb in Brisbane, you can contend.
We need to be looking back at the battle for third, fourth and fifth position, because Matt Bell has taken the opportunity of the delay behind the two battling cars to pull right back onto the rear of both of the Phoenix Audis. There is a bit of a timing glitch at the moment that's affecting the 16 car, I think it was. But Matt Bell is right back with them, and this is a three-car battle now for second position between the 16 and 15 Phoenix Audis and young Matt Bell in the number 10.
Yeah,
Sport Bentley.
Yeah, we're not quite getting the split times. If you're watching back home and wondering why things are changing around, that is a bit close for comfort, and that is the St. Gallen car battling for its class honours as well. Got to have respect here, guys. Everybody is battling something. It might just be for a finish, or in the case of that Aston Martin there, it might be for a class win.
Big commitment from Owen there. He committed early and stayed because there was no hesitation. And that was the difference between that becoming a crash or not. He committed to getting the car in the corner. Had he backed out of it, there's every chance he would have clipped the rear of that grey Aston Martin St. Gallen entry and turned it round and caused everybody a whole lot of drama.
Big call out for the crowd here at Bathurst, who have enjoyed this great racing from Friday, practicing qualifying through the shootout yesterday and the record-breaking run. And now, some 9 hours and 10 minutes into the race. It's huge at the bottom and at the top. Hello to everybody around the circuit here who are not listening in. And here is the move. This is the one we've been waiting for. Side-by-side action again. And Bentley's going down and being able to tough it out, coming into the kink. And that is second place, changing over. You saw it there. And Matt Bell has done the deed. That's a great drive back from the young Brit.
That's from fourth to second place in about a lap and a half from Matt Bell.
In the midst of a whole bunch of lap traffic too. This is a great drive, and the Bentley, as the race has gone on, has really come alive. It's got better and better and better, and so too is this guy, quite literally, because early on in the race he was pulled from the car.
Down and out.
He was down and out, and a bit of heat exhaustion and some real issues.
Maxi Buck into the pits. That's great news for the other Bentley, because Matt Bell now doesn't have his teammate to have to get out of his way.
And now we've got an extended green flag run too. We start seeing the relative fuel economies of these cars every stint so far interrupted by safety cars, and on average we've seen 35, even 36 laps of late, but because of all the yellow and the cruising round, now I don't think it'll be that long on fuel.
We have not had a full hour of green flag racing all meeting in any category, let alone the main class, and we're about, I think, just to get into that now.
I think, guys, we've got the top 6 cars at the moment. After an extended green flag running, 8.5 seconds between the top 6. 8.5 seconds between Daryl O'Young and Wolfgang Verriep, who at the moment I think is 6th position in the Nissan. And closing.
Yeah, this is going to be a heck of a finish as Maxi Berg comes into the pit lane. The other Bentley, the number 10, the M Sport car, with Matthew Bell at the wheel.
Interestingly enough, just one lap between the two Century Batteries GT3 class competitors. The Superbarn Supermarkets Porsche with Theo Konduras behind the wheel continues to lead the Grove Racing Porsche, who are on the comeback trail after some dramas earlier in the race. They're back up to second in class now. They're running 18th and 19th overall. In front of them is Adam Gowans in the number 93 Mark Cars Australia Focus V8. However, there is some stuff going on there, and they were given a black flag and ignored it. They went through the 3-lap window you get to take that black flag. As a result, they will be subject to a post-race hearing. And I'd suggest if it goes against them, they'll have the equivalent of a drive-through penalty, if not more, imposed on the number 93 car. At the moment, though, Adam Gowan's behind the wheel, 17th in the Recaro Invitational class, and doing a great job in the Mark Cars Australia entry.
Sorry about that, Krelsey. Just got a shot with the smiling eyes of Stephen Kane. He's getting ready to climb aboard and will be taking up the fight. But this is a great drive, both from Darrell Young in the lead of the race and Matt Bell and the number 10 Bentley. 3.9 seconds scored across the line. It doesn't look like that now.
No, it certainly doesn't. And I still just can't get over how gentle it looks behind the wheel of that Bentley. I remember going up to Crewe and talking to Brian Gush and Malcolm Wilson about this car when it was first mooted, and then see the first cars when they were released, and it was built to be comfortable for gentlemen drivers, and it seems that pro drivers like to be comfortable too. Shea Adam is down in the pits.
Big problems for one gentleman driver in the paddock, John. The number 75, Steve McLaughlin, has no radio communication. He didn't do his driver plug-in correctly, and they started off with a sign that said 75 driver plug. That didn't work, didn't get his attention. So they've now moved to this, hoping that it will get his immediate attention because his fuel is starting to run low. So he must pit soon. On the other hand, the team car, the 74, the team wasn't expecting it to pit, and it came in a couple laps ago. Alessandro Latif behind the wheel. They very professionally got that car turned around and back out onto the track with no issues. Now, all the focus is back to the 75.
Thanks, Shea. Old school.
Absolutely.
It's one thing that you get into the habit of when you drive in the lower categories, of just looking for your pit board every time, and having radio is a bit of a novelty for some people, but clearly they're having to go back to the old ways. There's nothing wrong in that. They'll be hitting me over the head with the pit board if he keeps going through and runs out of fuel on top of the mountain. That would be a bad one, wouldn't it? We're into the last 2 3/4 hours. Matt Bell chasing back Darrell Young. It's the Battle of Britain at the head of the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours. It's live and free here on 7. Taking the wild ride at the end of the Michelin chase there, and just about getting away with it, but not. This is the final corner again, Maguire Murray's corner, and the safety stop car, which had its incident early on when it was being passed by the leader. Now, is this another Audi that's had something to do with the car? Because it absolutely is. It's almost a carbon copy. There's no touching there, but the 6 car pulling offline from the Century Batteries GT3 category, the Porsche Cup class.
Please don't let it be Gardner again in the car.
No, you know it's going to be, isn't it? Who is it at the wheel of that? That's a good question. We'll check down for you.
Aaron Serafos, yeah.
It's got to be a safety car, because that's not coming out there. And we were just speculating that the Bentley might need a little bit of help. The number 10 Matt Bell car, and out comes the full course caution. 2 hours and 41 minutes to go, with about an hour's worth of running. If you don't have to be Einstein to work out where the pit stops have got to come. There's Matt Bell, looking much better than he did last time. He's got the cooling vest on there, and he's rehydrating.
And just for a moment there, I did think he'd got a rather strange haircut, but it's not. It's the damp flannel on the head. Well done, Matt.
All the leaders are in pit lane. Darrell Young pits the Craft Bamboo Aston. There it is, getting fuel and a driver change. Marcus Winkelhock is in. Christopher Husser is in. Matt Griffin pitted the Clearwater car. He was in that leading battle. The Class C leader is in too, the Aston Martin St Gallen car. You can see it just in front of this shot of the Auto Art sponsored Craft Bamboo car. Fire it up, everyone over the line. And, they had to hold it. They had to hold for the Sharon car. Now he goes.
And stalled it.
Oh, big hesitation there. That will cost them some time.
Better that than running into the car in the pit lane, though, Krillsy. That would have been potentially damaging, and they would have got a penalty for it as well.
In also comes Benny Simonson up to 8th position. The number 49 Vicious Rimmer Ferrari, and second in the AM class. Still led, of course, by Wolfgang Reep and the 35 Nissan.
Now, this has been a good stint from Wolfie Reed. We've seen nothing of the Nissan for the last 45 minutes, but it's kind of a good thing because they've just been circulating and running around. Really good job. A great stint from Benny Simonson. Mark Beretta has more on that.
Speaking of great stints, what about this guy, Matt Bell? He's one of the heroes of the day, Matt. What an up and down day you've had today.
Yeah, just a bit. The old Aussie weather is taking its toll on me a bit more than I thought. I had a little bit of a problem in the first one. I got a blocked water tube, so I had no fluids at all for the first double stint and ended up having to get out a little bit early ill, but managed to survive that one just about, and it seemed to go all right.
Seemed to go all right. It was fantastic. So what a recovery from being dehydrated, you rehydrate, you get back in the car and you drive a stint like that last one. I mean, everyone in the garage here is congratulating you. That was some stint.
Well, you don't really have a choice. You know, you get given such a great opportunity for Bentley, you have to turn up and perform. This is a proper team. M Sport Bentley, the car's fantastic, the team's fantastic. I have to be fantastic. There's no two ways about it. So hopefully we can keep it going.
Everyone who's watching the telecast is wondering what that Bentley is like to drive. Can you describe it for us?
Oh, it's fantastic. Especially, it's just such a rewarding track for it because through high-speed stuff, it's brilliant. And all that high-speed stuff there, going through, you know, from 4 to 10, it's just phenomenal to drive this thing. And then, of course, you got the beastie motor, the V8 under the bonnet there, pushing us down the straight. So this is a great track for it. It's brilliant to drive.
Matt, are you done now, or will you get back in?
I think the plan is to get back in again. So, but we'll see how it goes.
And how good does that ice vest feel right now?
It's still pretty warm. I think I'll be going for a cold shower.
Good on you, man. Well done today. Great effort.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to hear someone talking proper Queen's English. Comes from my neck of the woods up in the northeast, although we're separated by cultural and religious differences. Soccer clubs are daggers drawn. Newcastle United for Matt Bell and his brother Bob. Sunderland AFC for me. But when we're abroad, of course, we all flock together and put those things aside. Fantastic. Well done, Matt. No problem in saying that to him. He's really pulled it out there for Bentley and given them a hope. Came in second position. We've got 2 hours and 37 minutes to go, and it's now that the back timing of fuel strategy starts to come into play. And you can come back here on 7 to see how it plays out at the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours for 2015. Bathurst, classic motor racing venue, providing excellent entertainment for us here on 7. Hello there, it's John Hindhaugh, Richard Craill, and the editor of dailysportscar.com, Graham Goodwin, overlooking the last 2.5 hours or thereabouts of what had been a gripping motor race. Yes, interrupted in terms of the flow by the intervention of the safety car. Kind of expect that here at the mountain, that there's going to be some incidents. But what we have is a top 6 that is chock full of talent and brands that we would all kill for to have on our drives. Richard Muscat leads the motor race in the Erebus Mercedes-Benz, with Wolfie Reef in second place for Nissan and Alex McDowell for Aston Martin in third. And there's all kinds of strategies playing out. We're now getting into the area where people are working out how many pit stops they're going to have left. Graham.
6 Porsche made it back to pit lane. That means lights are out on the safety car by the look of things, and I think we're going to go to green flag racing this time around, boys.
And the track temperature is 52 degrees Celsius. It's just starting to drop a little bit. The ambient 33 from Michelin down there on the pit lane, and thanks for that information.
Pirelli up against it too, yet to win at Mount Panorama, so they're in the box seat today to try and get their first Bathurst victory. So it's a great tyre war between the two competing brands. They're fighting it out at the front. It's not just the teams and drivers battling, it's the tyre brands as well. So Richard Muscat will lead the field back to green. A couple of cars duck into pit lane. I think the gap there will be okay because there were cars pulling out of the queue to dive into the pits. We're back to green, and it's Richard Muscat leading the field through. Wolfgang Reed second in the Nissan. Alex McDowell is back behind the wheel of the Craft Bamboo Aston Martin. There it is, being passed finally by the Clearwater Racing Ferrari. The problem is, it's not for the lead, and very, very wide into that corner went the 99 car, the sister Craft Bamboo entry. The 97 goes past, but McDowell there just a little bit slow on the restart. The 99 car doing the right thing. The sister car getting out the way. In the background, you can see the bright yellow lights of Marco Mappelli in the number 15 Phoenix racing car.
That is the third-placed Aston Martin that is just tucked up at the moment behind the number 8 Bentley, sitting a lap off the lead, but only down in 8th position for JP and the rest of the team. And again, the cars that are intermingled there, there's no pulling out and waving by, pass-arounds or anything like that. Let's get back to racing as quick as you can. And guys, sort yourselves out. And actually, I kind of quite like that, if I'm honest. We're heading into the last 2.5 hours, and it is a brilliant variety of machines at the front of the field. And don't forget, we're battling in the classes as well. The Clearwater Ferrari now under a little bit of pressure. The 33 car with Matt Griffin sitting just a lap or two off the lead, and he's down in 11th position. And he's got that 97 car of Alex McDowell right there as well.
Just trying to smoke pouring off my laptop as we try and work out the race strategies in this race.
Tell the viewers the truth. And you've got an abacus there.
Yeah, correct. And what we can see at this point is that the 36 and 35 cars are on a slightly different strategy to the ones behind. So those, the Erebus Motorsport SLS and Wolfie Reap, was that drama?
That's the 93 car. The 93 car, we got a quick shot off.
Oh, massive crash.
The 91 of this was the Mazda, the Mark car, and that is at the top of the mountain right next to the 7 News skyline, and that is surely more than one car has been involved in that, or has he just hit the wall so hard that it's destroyed the back of that car? Now, there are panels that are meant to deform and come off, so that looks bad. This is the Recaro Class I car that's been vying for the lead with the 93 Mark Cars Australia team car, the one that's shaped like the Focus, and no movement at the moment, but it will be a safety car because of the severity. Look at the right-hand side rear has been ripped off. That is a rear drive car, and the drive shafts are I'm afraid, visible there.
Ivo Bruca's behind the wheel too, so second in class. Unfortunately for him, that's the second time he's found the wall here today. That's a big impact there at McPhillamy Park. Skated across the top of the gravel trap too and made big rearward contact with the wall and the tyre barriers on the outside. So we'll see if we've got a replay for you, if we can. Another safety car in what's been a bruising day here at Mount Panorama.
And another Mazda with issues up on the run-up to Griffin Bend. That's one of the tube frame RX-7s, the former Speed Sport car, the Patrick Dempsey racing cars from the States and Grand Am. And that car's come to a dead halt as well.
I think that's going to be the 43 car, John.
They've had a tough day, haven't they, Henley Racing, with their pair of Speed Source built Mazda RX-8 GTs, bought out of the States last year, ran them in local sports sedan competition for much of last season, had a great time with them. It's their first real endurance race since coming into local hands.
Scott Fitzsimmons, who is up on the mountain.
So that's good news. Driver got out. That is the best possible news we can get from that kind of an incident. Thanks to everybody keeping us aware. Here's a look. Oh, no, down the inside. One of the Phoenix racing cars, the 16, and that is a monster crash.
Oh, dear. Well, if the race control follows protocol, that's going to be at least a drive-through for the 16 car. If you give that to the Bentley earlier on for the one at the chase, you've got to give it there as well.
We spoke all day today about risk minimisation.
And that was Felix Baumgartner.
And not taking chances when you're lapping cars slower than you, because there's no point. And unfortunately, it ends up in things like that.
And just unluckily hits the unguarded part of the concrete wall. There's so many tyres, you'd think it would be harder to hit the wall than anything else. And of course, the Lord of Sod says that's exactly what happens.
Pictures actually now of Ivo walking away from the car.
Well, that's the best news that we can give.
Quick shot of Keith Kasuki there, co-driver of this car. Great guy, Australia's busiest racing car driver. I think raced 30 times last year in a couple of different series. The Mark cars, he does the endurance program with them. He races a big Ford Falcon in the Touring Car Masters series and is very, very competitive in that. In fact, he was racing that car in New Zealand last weekend. Came straight to Bathurst for this one. Well, it shows the strength and the integrity in which these Mark Cars Australia cars are built and designed. And I think Paul Sepranich up at Pace Innovations on the Gold Coast, I'm not sure if he's here this week, and I imagine he probably is, would be a very, very happy man to see that his chassis stood up to the impact. And Ryan McLeod, who helps run these cars. So let's head down to pit lane with one of the great stories of the day. Car 49, the Vicious Rumour racing team, have been doing great things, and Mark Beretta has more on that.
Yeah, they've been chipping away beautifully, and I'm with former Formula One driver Andrea Montemini. Andrea, great to see you back again. We were just watching that accident, and as you described it, that was one of the bigger accidents you've seen in a pretty illustrious career.
Yes, it's quite big. I hope the driver will be okay, and I wish he's okay. But the shunt is quite big, so we open we see what's going on.
Now let's talk about your day. You guys you're chipping away there very nicely, sitting in 8th spot. You've sort of flown under the radar a little bit today.
Yes, we had a very bad day yesterday. Actually, we didn't make anything, no qualify, nothing. So we started at the very back of the field, and we grow up quite quickly, and we are in the top 10 now, and we are second in our class. So I think it's a huge job for the moment for the team. Tony, De Felicis really deserve all this, and we are trying to make our best.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great effort. Fantastic to see you back here, because we haven't seen you here since 2003 in the 24-hour race.
Yes, in fact, I had the chance that time to come in with a Ferrari, with a 360, and I did love the circuit straight away. I thought it's one of the great circuits in the world I've been. So I said, okay, I would be very happy if I can have a chance to come back.
Now, Andre, I've got to ask you, how good is this circuit? How do you rate it against all the incredible racetracks you've been on around the world?
It's very good. Let's say up of the hill is very challenging, and also you don't have to make any mistake, because that's going to cost you a lot. So, but this is like Monte Carlo. I mean, you know that if you make a mistake, you are in a wall.
Oh, great to have you here. Good luck for the rest of the day. I know you're going to bring it home strongly.
Thank you. We try.
Good to see you. Okay, let's go to Shay further down the lane.
Keith Kasolke, you're one of the drivers of the car with Ivo Brukers, who is involved in that massive shunt. Now, you haven't heard from Ivo yet, but we were hearing down the line that he was out of the car. Best news of the day. But that was a massive, massive hit.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That's probably as bad as it gets. Yeah, I hope Ivo's all right. He's, as you said, out of the car, so he'll be pretty well shaken after that. It's pretty sad for the crew. They worked all night to repair the car after the shunt at the cutting yesterday. But yeah, what a wonderful crew. So well, let's hope he's all right, and that's our race finished. But fantastic crew. We worked very hard today to get up to where we were at P20. Looking forward to a good finish. But anyway, it's happened. We'll regroup now and get these cars repaired.
And come back next year, right?
Absolutely, we'll be back next year, yeah, for another shot at it. Hopefully with not so much bad luck.
Best wishes with Ivo Brukers.
Yeah, Keith and Ivo had a good chat with them on Friday evening, and our best wishes to Ivo. All right, again, we have the opportunity to go away from the mountain without missing any action. The clear up, as you can see, is underway. The flat tray is there. Don't go too far away, because we will get racing underway quite quickly after this, and there'll be more action, hopefully not so much incident, from Bathurst at the Liqui Moly 12 Hours 2015. This safety car period enabling the cars to take service without losing too much track position. And here at the Mount Panorama Early Season Classic, the 12 Hours, the Liqui Moly 12 Hours, it is also the time when the calculators are out. If you're a little bit further back down the field, you've got the choice now to play it safe or roll the dice. We're coming into the area where it is 2 more pit stops from here to the flag for the cars at the front. They can run just around or just over an hour of green flag racing. Now, we haven't had an hour of green flag racing thus far. So do you gamble that you will get some more safety car running in the last 2 hours, or do you stick to what you think might happen? It's a tough one. Pat Long, as well as being a very good driver, is also a shrewd tactician and student of the sport. Be interesting to hear what he thinks the chances of the 12 car in 7th position. Here's Mark Beretta.
working away gradually all day. Again, sort of staying under the radar a little bit, Pat. It's sort of all going to plan, isn't it? You're putting yourselves in a good position.
Yeah, we are. Unfortunately, Chris got hit in his last stint, so our exhaust is bent. We've lost about 10K down the straightaway, but other than that, the car's on rails. Over the top of the mountain, I finally got my head around Bathurst, so I had a lot of fun. That was a 2-hour and 40-minute stint, so my feet are a little bit hot, but luckily the training got me through on the mental side, and we'll see what we can do now.
That's a beautiful feeling to know that you've mastered this place.
I wouldn't say that. That would take a lot more than what I've done, but at least now I can feel a rhythm. Really enjoyed it. I would almost go on the record and say this is the best track in the world. It's so much fun.
You can say that. We'll accept that. But what's the expectation from here? You're sitting 7th at the moment. How far up can you get?
Listen, we're trying to get a lap back. We thought we might have had it there with the Nissan and the Mercedes ahead of me. I didn't want to fight them and hold them up, but sure enough, they were the 2 cars that ended up between us and the safety car. So we were hoping they were going to come in for fuel. We didn't get that call. In the end, it's going to be a pretty brutal race on the 1 lap down just to hold 7. So we'll see if a little attrition could bring us to top 5.
Okay, you got a bit over, what, 2 hours to go. Can the car hold out okay?
Yeah, look, it's down on power, but other than that, it's solid. It's a Porsche 911, so they just keep going. They're like sewing machines.
Good stuff. Well done, Paddy.
Pat Long, busy season of GT racing for him, and great to see that he's dialing himself into this classic circuit. It's going to be a little while before we go back to green flag racing, so we'll step away just for another moment to get you back, hopefully, at around about the time that the green flag is back in hand on the start-finish line here at Bathurst for the Liqui Moly 12 Hours 2015. Live and free on 7, it's the Bathurst Summer Classic, the Liqui Moly 12 Hours. John Hindhaugh, Richard Craill and Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com, in the booth. Down in the pit lane, Mark Beretta and Shea Adam working up and down, patrolling the pit lane for us. And we're coming back to green shortly after that frightening-looking accident for Ivo Breukers in the Mark Cars Australia Mazda 3 V8. Helped off the road by Felix Baumgartner. More than a little love tap there, I'm afraid, as Felix went for a very low percentage move at the top of the mountain. But what we have got now is a situation, Crailsey, where we're coming not that far away from the 2-stop window for the top cars to get to the end of the race with just 2 more pit stops. And this is where the team manager earns his corn. They're in overdrive right now.
We need to find out, really, from the teams in pit lane exactly where the Erebus Mercedes is at. That, for me, is the big question mark, because they're running a slightly different strategy, both they and the number 35 Nissan, first and second on the road, compared to the cars in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. They are, respectively, the Aston Martin, the number 10 Bentley, the number 16 Audi and the number 15 Audi of Laurent Verntor. So I think when the Mercedes pits is when this race starts to work itself out with how we go to the end. We're back to green flag conditions at Mount Panorama. Richard Muscat again leads the field to the green flag.
And the longest green flag period we've had is 1 hour and 5 minutes, and just after the 2 hour 7 minute mark. So how does that affect the strategies up and down pit lane? 3 cars abreast as they come across the line, and that is the Baumgartner car. cutting down onto the inside of Hell Corner. The 16 car sitting in 6th position. A little bit of a timing glitch there. And it's two teammates absolutely side by side behind them.
That's for position 2, 14th and 15th, 213 laps apiece. So they're 3 and a bit behind the leaders, but the two JMEC PEM Racing Audis are trading paint with 2 hours to go in the motor race and swapping positions as they run up to turn 2. Great racing.
Unfortunately, they did it over the line, and I'm not quite sure that's going to work for them, because they most certainly overlapped as they crossed the line under the green flag with a slower car in front of them.
It's embarrassing to do it with another car. To do it with your teammate, that's a bit of an issue, isn't it? So 2 hours and 10 minutes to go in the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12-hour. It's been a tough day at the office, but we've got a race that's set to play itself out with 6 cars on the lead lap and 6 cars all capable of winning this motor race.
Absolutely, Krillsy.
There's 4 of them.
And it's interesting how the strategies have played out so far. Clearly, with the intervention of the AMG Mercedes-Benz safety car, it has messed up everybody's green flag strategy, but you've got to just keep adapting. Stick with what you've got or change it up. That's the question. Wolfie Reap, 2nd place. The leader is that dark-coloured car ahead going down Conrod straight up over the rise and heading back towards us now. And Reap closes in. He's not going to be close enough to get the draft here, but he's got the power and the top speed. Absolutely flat out through the kink, down into the Michelin chase. Super late on the brakes by Reap as he comes down through the Michelin chase and under the Liqui Moly bridge down to Maguire's Murray corner at the end of the lap. And all of a sudden, target acquired mode for Wolfie Reap. And I just wonder if Richard Muscat is struggling a little bit on the brakes.
If I'm leading this race in the final 2 or 3 laps and I've got this car behind, I would be a very worried human being, because that thing is an absolute rocket ship at the moment. And Wolfgang Reap is driving it very, very well. Who do we put in that car at the end, do you think? How much driving time has Chio-san got left? Florian Strauss did a good stint early on today. He was 2nd in the car.
Yeah, but then he had a big break. He had a very, very big break until he just got in and out of the car.
I don't think it matters, because all 3 of those guys have been very, very fast. So I'm not too sure it's an issue. I think that's the last of their problems.
At the minute, they're doing rock, paper, scissors at the back of the garage to find out who wins that one. It is a problem, I think, for Muscat's pace here, because not only the Nissan dragging back towards it, but also the other Erebus Mercedes, I think, is out there as well. They're getting a little closer.
I think, though, they are going to have to stop possibly 10 or 15 laps earlier, somewhere around that mark, than the cars in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th place. And that's going to make their life perhaps difficult in the closing stint of the race. Although, from this very point on, if everyone had full tanks, they should be able to get to the finish with 1 more pit stop. Correct. But they don't. That's the problem. So the question is, we think the 36 and 35 cars got less fuel than the 97 and the 16 behind them. The question is how much? When do they pit, and how long can they go into this race? Can they do it on 2 more stops, or will they need a splash at the end?
Well, we're in the window, as you say, and this is where the brain calculation begins to go into overdrive for the guys on the... Just as much talent in the pit box as there is behind the wheel here, and in endurance racing, it is a team event. The sunshine just beginning to come round into the booth here, and that means it'll be in the driver's eyes going down to Hell Corner, turn number 1. The heat on the racetrack up above 50 degrees Celsius and 33, 34 degrees Celsius in the air. This is now settling in. Let's hope that we get a good long run here and to get some green flag pit stops to really shake this up.
Right back in the pace too, Hindy. First lap back, 5-6 for Muscat, 6-2 for Reap. Good pace from the Erebus Merc, 6-9 for McDowell in 3rd place in the Aston.
Don't count out that Aston yet either. That has been a really interesting run from the 97 car. Board with the 32, down in 8th position.
Got some ace support behind the scenes. I think you mentioned it earlier on today, but John Russell helping out behind the scenes, hugely experienced team manager and engineer, and also Mick Ritter from Sonic Motor Racing, one of Australia's top race car teams in Formula Ford and open wheel racing and Porsche Carrera Cup 2, really giving some operational strength to the Largo Racing team, who have gone further than they have in all 3 of the previous Bathurst 12 hours combined today.
So just mentioning the classes, the Century Batteries GT3 class being led at the moment by Sam Power in the Superbarn Supermarkets 47 Porsche, and he is up to 17th position and just 5 laps off the lead of the race. Obviously, we'll keep our eyes on how that is developing as we head inside the last couple of hours in 5 minutes' time. There is nothing more spectacular than watching an onboard lap from the mountain.
Merck stopped, as far as I can tell, on 190. And there's been a lot of safety car in then, which would explain quite a long stint. But you'd think with 218 laps in the books now, we're approaching 30 laps. The window today has been somewhere between 30 and 35 due to all the safety cars. So you'd think there's probably another 15 laps before the 36 car has to pit. So that takes us up to 230, 235 perhaps for Erebus Motorsport. My maths are notoriously wonky, so we could be a way off here, but that's my guess. And 235, that gives us another 30 minutes of racing with them. They would then need a short stop towards the end of the race in the final hour to get to the finish, bearing in mind there's 2 hours to go.
Quilsey, remember a couple of years ago when we had a lovely day and all of a sudden the clouds started to gather, the wind started to pick up, and we had something biblical. Well, all we needed was the frogs.
2013 you're thinking of?
Yes. I'm detecting a little more cloud cover, and it's of the darker grey variety. Has this great race got yet another twist up its sleeve? Who writes the plots for these things? Guys have got great script writers.
I would say there was nothing forecast, but as regular Bathurst fans will know, that means absolutely nothing.
Well, you said that, we said that a few years ago, didn't we?
True.
And then we had the most amazing display of 30 to 40 kilometre an hour driving on the top of the mountain by people who are much more used to going 200 clicks quicker than that, and yet it was still breathtaking to watch the guys trying to keep the cars on the straight and narrow. Is that going to be a factor in the last 2 hours, which we are into now? 2 hours and 4 minutes still to run on this one, and Wolfie Reap, the man who earned his position in the Nismo Global Athlete team by being selected from the GT Academy into the boot camp by running a video game test. Then he had to do all the hard work. Then he had to get the 11 signatures on his license to get his international say and go race in the 24 hours of Dubai. And now he comes here as part of a fully professional team that are chasing down the leaders. And it's Richard Muscat who he has in his sights at the moment in the 36 Erebus Mercedes-Benz, the AMG car. The SLS just in front at the moment. But Wolfie Reap driving with the confidence of a man with much more experience on the racetrack than he actually has. And the back end of the lap is very good for the GTR as he closes up again, but he just can't get close enough to put a move on the leader.
Just going back through some of the classes, the GWS personnel invited production class, the number 23 BMW 1M, owned and run by Beric Linton and his team out of the Gold Coast, the Bruce Linton BMW outfit, Rob Thompson behind the wheel. They're currently leading that class and doing a sensational job. Venerable car runs in Australian Manufacturers Championship competition and has done so for quite some time. They're currently scored 31st, one position, and on the same lap as the Class C leading, or Class C contending, I should say, Aston Martin.
Betty Klemenko, First Lady of Australian Motorsport, just living every single corner of the race, as she always does. Love the enthusiasm of Betty. She's been a good friend to us as well on RadioLeMans.com at Spa and some of the overseas races. And, of course, here, lovely to meet her for the first time when I came here. That is the enthusiasm I love to see in the pit lane.
This is brilliant for Richard Muscat and for Jack LeBrock. Dean Canto has been here and done that before. But Erebus, I think, unfairly copped a fair bit of criticism when they announced their driver lineup for this year's race, mainly because they didn't go down the international route that they have in the past and couldn't draw on their V8 supercar drivers for the weekend. So they went, right, we're going to get Richard Muscat, who's been part of our academy. We'll get Jack LeBrock, who's been part of our academy. We'll draw in Dean Canto for car 36 as the experience glue that binds them together. They have impressed and delivered today so far. super performance by all three, and car 36 is right in this one.
Absolutely, massively. It's been a fantastic performance. Now, we're not at the problem for the 63 car. I've no doubt whatsoever the selection there would have been inspired too.
Just wonder, we've got the Nissan dropping into its pit window now as he closes up again on the leader. Richard Muscat had to just back out at the end of the Michelin chase as he comes down under the Liqui Moly bridge in front of the Riches Hotel and down to Maguire's Corner, the final left-hander here on the circuit. Just wonder now if Bob Neville, who is helping with the team here, the Nismo Global Athlete team, I wonder what his calculator is saying. Wolfie Reed was last in, or at least the 35 car was last in 31 laps ago as Wolfie. Oh, you know, this is a guy who allegedly has no experience, just over a year's worth of experience. He dodges out there to make sure that Richard Muscat can see the bluff front end of that Nissan GTR, just to make him not sure that he knows you're coming there. I don't think he needs reminding, Wolfie, but I like your style. That is mind games being played, just turning up the pressure on the car in front.
As we watch this, something just popped up on Twitter that I've noticed about 5 or 10 minutes ago, which is that Stephen Kane is not on the lead lap anymore. Now, is that courtesy of a recent pit stop? Is that going to wind its way back in? Because actually Stephen is now in a battle with Benny Simonson for 6th position off the lead lap.
First car's off the lead lap, you're absolutely right. I did notice that tweet come in earlier on and then I got distracted. No rain on the radar. And the 97 car's his third, Alex McDowell. He's gone, look at the black marks. He's gone straight on there and banged the car up, and the steering is damaged. He's going to try a flick turn. This is again a Griffin Bend. I'm not sure he's going to get away with that, is he? Yes, he is. But can he get this car going? He has, and he's avoided another full course caution. Gee, that would have been right in the range for the Nissan to take a stop. Now, has he got damage there? He may have got away with it.
I don't think he hit, or did he? I'm not sure he hit anything.
The black lines must have been from an earlier incident, and heavens, there's been enough at Griffin Bend this weekend.
Surface holding up beautifully, by the way. Tip of the hat to the Bathurst Regional Council for getting that all sorted, and that's the spin. So light contact. Just brushed the tyre bundle on the outside there. But key moment, that car was third in the motor race, in front of the two Phoenix Racing Audis.
He's only dropped one place. Vanter's gone through. Has Baumgartner gone through as well?
There's a timing glitch on that car, John. And
well reminded.
Certainly both the Phoenix cars would have taken that place immediately. Victor Muscat on pit lane, 36 car.
Well, that answers the question, and my maths was about 8 laps short there. Lap 2:22, Richard Muscat pits.
You might not have been wrong, of course. They might just think we can go from here with one more pit stop. And of course, if you don't have to put a full tank in, you're going to be stationary slightly shorter amount of time. They're looking for track position here, I reckon, Krilsey. Let's get this one done in case we get caught the wrong side of a full course caution. And I think the Nissan has kind of got to follow them in next time around if they're going to stay in touch. The question's got to come down to drive times now for the individual pilots and what Wolfie Reep's got left in terms of his driving time and who goes in to do the last couple of hours.
The decision might be made now, John, based on what traffic's ahead of Wolfgang Reep. Has he got some clear air ahead of him? Can he get his foot in and get some clear blue air between him and the chasing trio or quartet now with the Aston Martin trying to get back onto terms with the Audis? Or are we going to see the 35 car down pit lane very soon?
Minute and 5 to transit pit lane to put a new driver in and a full tank of fuel.
Wow.
Good stop from Erebus Motorsport, and Jack LeBrock now finds himself behind the wheel of car number 2.
I think he will drop down behind Felix Baumgartner, but ahead of Alex McDowell, and that spin now looks costly for Alex McDowell. He'd be a place further up the field, of course.
He would be, and there's bad news, meanwhile, from the United States for the progress on the LMP1 programme for Nissan. It's very clear the entire team is watching this race.
No, there's no work being done at AAR at the moment. Hello to everybody. We're very excited to see that car at the FIA World Endurance Championship prologue at Paul Ricard's the week after Sebring. Busy summer of endurance racing for our RadioLeMans.com team as we travel the globe, and great to be down here in Australia with our colleagues at 7, bringing you this race around the world as well as around Australia. And this is rapidly becoming a must-do race, not just for us broadcasters, but also for the drivers.
Yeah, it's fair to say that the marketing man at Nissan, Paul Ryan, proud Australian, of course, is probably the grumpiest Aussie at the moment, not being here.
So how far does the Nissan go into this stint? We saw a stop on 2:22 for Jack LeBrock, and they were there or thereabouts with that 35 car in terms of their strategy.
The only thing I would say, I was very keen on them stopping and covering the 36 car, but with the pit rules here and under the full course caution, the pit stays open. So you do still get the opportunity to pit if the safety car comes out. It might just work to push this car on and open up your last stop window to a wider area. Remember, once you get inside that last stop, about an hour, under an hour or thereabouts to go, you can make your last stop. You don't have to go all the way into it, even if you've got half a tank of fuel left. You're just stationary less time because you're putting less fuel in it.
Either that or you roll the dice, see how long you can go. It doesn't matter if it runs out of fuel as you cross the line if you're in first place.
Well, these are the questions that we're asking here. It matters not to any of us. Of course, we will be excited whatever the result. Imagine how it must be down in the pit garages and on the pit wall for the guys who are making the decision. That will change the outcome of the race, potentially underlining a victory. Or can you sneak with a different strategy, a better result than you're sitting with at the moment? The Bentley, of course, of Stephen Kane now up into second. It's 35 Nissan from 10 Bentley in second. Laurent Vantour in the 15 Audi in third position, 22 seconds away from the Bentley, and then another 20 seconds further back is Felix Baumgartner. I am very surprised that that car has not copped a penalty from race control after the contact with Ivo Breukers in the Mark Cars Australia Mazda. Here comes our race leader, Nissan, leading Bathurst. A few years since that has been said here. Wolfie Reap across the line. 2:07 last time I went round for Wolfie as he got caught in a little bit of traffic. How much more fuel in the tank? How much more will they risk? Wolfie being out there, not because he's doing a bad job. They have got track position at the moment and they want to keep it.
I think we've had a timing error for that Bentley because it's now shown as being back on the lead lap, and it certainly has not done that. So I think that's a part of that timing glitch that's affected the Audi. Stephen Kane now shown in second position and just 8.5 seconds back from Wolfie Reap on the same kind of pace.
That's more like it.
So it's Nissan from Bentley from the two Audis, 15 from 16 then. Alec McDowell in the number 97 car. Had that near brush with disaster.
Felix Baumgartner's dropping a bit of time in this stint, but full credit, he's very, very consistent, punching out regular 211s and just keeping that car in the mix. And all he's got to do is hand that car over to somebody for the final stint of the race on the lead lap. And that's job done, I think, for Felix on his first visit to Mount Panorama. Solid stuff. 2:10.4 last time round for him. That's a solid lap.
So the Ultima led the 1000k here last year in a brilliant run to a fabulous finish. And now we've got the GTR leading the 1000. And thanks to Lachlan Hines for reminding me I was in Japan that weekend catching the highlights. Here's the Michelin hourly update. It's Reap in the Nissan from Kane in the Bentley, from Laurent Vantour in the Audi, the Darrell Lee top 3. And Peter Edwards pulls the number 8 car back into the top 10 as well for the Flying B concern.
It's a great race so far. The Michelin hourly update shows us the top 10. This is the Pirelli class leaderboard. Kane and Reap, we know. Sam Power leads, continues the Century Batteries GT3 Cup class in the Superbarn Porsche. Mark O'Connor, the Lotus, continues to top Bridges Class C. Rob Thompson in front in the BMW 1 Series. They've had a really solid day, leading GWS Class D, and the Recaro class, led by the Mark Ford Focus. Gary Jacobson, as they've done for much of the weekend, continues to top the standings. They're the class standings. We've got a race on our hands. There are 6 cars on the lead lap. The Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hour will go right down to the wire. Welcome back to Mount Panorama, live coverage on the 7 Network around Australia as we build ourselves to a finish. There's an hour and 48 to go. We're busy working out pit strategy and trying to work out who's where on the run to the flag. A couple of Ferraris in pit lane, Vicious Rumour Racing and Clearwater Racing, and it's going to be very close between the two of them as they rejoin. One car, the 49 car, is 7th. the other, the Chrome 33, back down in 12th place with Tony Verlander back behind the wheel. Their charge back into contention has not gone to their plans.
And that's down to the safety cars.
Yeah, Andrea Montemini back behind the wheel of car 49, and great to have him back in Australia. As we heard in his chat with Barrett earlier on, raced here in the Bathurst 24-hour in a Ferrari. Did not finish that race, so ironically, David Brabham was a co-driver of his that day. It was the last time Brabs raced a GT race at Mount Panorama.
Another 2:07 for Wolfie Reap and a 2:08 for Stephen Kane. Suggests there's a little traffic out there that's slowing people down. In fact, everybody's lap time's just going out a wee bit now. I'm wondering if the heat of the day and the tyre choice hasn't quite worked out for some of these people, but it's affecting everybody in the same way, so there's no real advantage or disadvantage. The hard tyres that the Michelin runners begged Michelin to bring, have they been pushed into use yet? Are they all sitting on the mediums and trying to triple stint them?
I know Kraft had their soft tyres on earlier on as Andy Soucek brings the 11 car in from 11th place, rather ironically. 225 laps completed, so they're just over 2.5 behind the 227 completed by our current leader, the number 35 Nissan GTR.
At the moment, boys, I'm liking the look of the pace of Florence Vantour into the 205s now and closing under 30 seconds now back from the leader as Stephen Kane drops back a little from Wolfgang Reap, who is due on pit lane any time now. The charging 15 Phoenix Audi is closing the gap.
This is not a regular stop for the Bentley. It's on the transport jacks, and that's going back in the box, fellas. This 11th position car is going to lose some time. Now, bad news for them. Is it bad news also for the sister car that sits in second position? You always wonder, don't you, if you see some kind of reliability problems, if it's going to affect both of the cars. They're going to work underneath the car. These guys have worked on World Rally Championship, British GTs, and the Blancpain Series. The M Sport guys are very, very good at analysing the problem, working out what it is, and then fixing it.
They're broken, battered and bruised, but still running. 27th placed Aston Martin of Motion Sport, the Compare Insurance sponsored car, with Pete Story behind the wheel of that car at the moment. Gordon Shedden off down at the final corner earlier on today, turn 23, Maguire's turn.
Could have been my adopted car that this weekend for no other reason than I've taken more pictures of that car because it's close to where we walk up to the booth, and as a photographer I'm fairly lazy. It is a pretty car and it photographs very well, and every time I've walked by they've been doing something tremendously photogenic with it.
Ben Gower.
Feel kind of at one with that car. There is the Erebus 63 car. That's the car that's had issues as well for the Erebus team.
Yep, Austin Cindric at the wheel of that car as it came in. This is a 16-year-old American.
Ben Garrett was, sorry, behind the wheel of the Motion Sport car. This car, 26, so one position further up than the Motion Sport entry. After dramas early, punctured rear tyre, backed it into the wall at the cutting, as many drivers have today.
Just noticed, by the way, that the Grove Racing Porsche is back at the head of the Century Batteries Class B, the GT3 Porsche categories. No, as I say that, it's not. It's Sam Power, the 47, excuse me, jumping around the timing screen there, Hindhoff. But they are working their way back, and we might yet have a battle in that. Luke Yilton, who is at the wheel, is just on the back of the lead lap, just in the Class B. So we might yet have a battle. One of the walking wounded, of which there are legion. The 66 Mobil 1 sponsored car. Gee, they've had a long run today. The GT Endurance guys, Scott O'Donnell, Aidan Knighton and Michael Lyons. Michael was up in the press room talking to one or two of the journals a little earlier on. Unfortunately, we were a bit busy, couldn't get him on into the booth. We'll try and get a chat with them later on, but that is a team with a story to tell here for sure.
And into pit lane comes car 35, race leader Wolfgang Reap on lap 229. So bang on our prediction before. Minus one lap, but I think we're allowed that. Well, with a 9.8 second lead. So compared to the Erebus car, who stopped on 222, so they're 8 laps apart. I don't think that'll affect too much towards the end of the race. It'll just mean that they might have to fuel conserve a little bit at Erebus, and they are driving a driver change. It'll be Florian Strauss getting behind the wheel of car 35. So you'd think from here, with an hour and 43 to go,
on that.
there'll be one stop to go.
I think they're putting tyres on that because this is leisurely. They're not pushing too hard. The fueling is almost done. Oh, this is taking too long, guys. If they're not putting tyres on this, and now I'm going to change my mind and say they're not. That took too long.
It's a very casual driver change.
The fuel hose was out for a long time. That's why I thought they were... Oh, obviously it's going to go up on the jacks and they're going to throw a new set of Michelins on it, but that took too long there.
Rolling down pit lane, 40 k's an hour. We saw before the Erebus stop was 1 minute and 5 from pit in to pit out. This, minute 17.
There goes the Erebus car across the line now. It's going to be tight as they come out of the pit lane.
They've lost 15 seconds, John. 15 seconds in that stop sequence. All the good work done on track has been lost with a slow lap. Now, where is the Erebus Motorsport car? Back of shot, headlights ablaze, just at the bottom end of Mountain Straight. So they haven't lost position to it, but they've lost time.
It's come out after the Alex McDowell Aston Martin has gone through. So the car will drop from 1st to 4th position.
That is something that Bob Neville is going to be absolutely furious about there. Now, he is one who advocates taking your time at pit stop because you've got to bolt your driver in properly, and nobody is saying you've got to skimp there, but that seemed to be a tad too leisurely, and the time just ebbing away. The fuel was done, so it would appear that they could have gone perhaps even a little bit longer. We'll check driver times and such like, but the good news is now I think Florian Strauss can go all the way to the end of the race and do it on one more stop.
And this is the car that now leads the race. Not quite this one, it's the one just up the road. There it is, car 10, Stephen Kane. So the Bentley assumes the lead in this pit stop shuffle, but they shouldn't be too far away from stopping either.
Bentley leads Bathurst.
Again.
Still in this race, though, aren't they?
Oh,
these
forever.
guys? And you heard before, Matt Bell likely to get back in this car, although the other option's not too bad either, is it, Guy Smith?
And when did Kearney stop last? Or when did this car stop last, the 10?
I don't think they're that far off the sequence of the GTR.
No, I don't either.
John.
This is a long stint from Stephen King. It's been a very good one. He's been right there in the hunt, and of course now the car rising up to the lead. He's got 25 seconds over Lawrence Vanteur and the chasing Phoenix Audi, the number 15 car. This is the matte black car with the kangaroo logos on the side.
Anybody betting against last 20-minute shootout again here?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
They'll get not a cent of my money on that not being the case. Not one.
Steve Owen pits the JBS Lamborghini from 7th position. Still just one lap from the race lead. They need something pretty mighty to have him from here to get on that lead lap. If they do, they're in this race because they've got great car speed in that car.
Now what happens? This would be Bentley's biggest win since 2003.
Now, you talk about little things making a difference. The maximum drive time is 4 hours and 30 minutes. We talked about that earlier on. Darrell O'Young has just tweeted using the hashtag B12HR. His drive time, 4 hours and 28 minutes. That's called using your resources.
Absolutely. I was massively impressed with Darrell in this car.
Too.
Massively. If you think about who else was available to the team, Stefan Mucker has got a bullet in the gun for them.
And Laurent Vanteur is pushing hard, very hard indeed. He's just brushed the wall at Reed Park up on the top of the mountain. He appears to have got away with it for the moment, but we'll keep an eye on that 15 car. Sitting in second place at the moment, 25 seconds further back down the road than Stephen Kane in the leading car, the Bentley.
He might be pushing hard, but Stephen Kane is pushing harder into the 205s within about 0.8 of a second of the fastest time for that car in the race, 205.9 against 207.3 for the Audi. So at the moment, it's going the Bentley's way. The gap has gone out to nearly 27 seconds now. So Stephen is absolutely on it.
And a bad lap for Lawrence Vanteur we're looking at now. Here's 7.3 to our leader. It's 5.9 and 26.9 seconds behind is the Phoenix Racing Audi.
Here's the thing, guys. Where are the Bentleys getting this pace from? All of a sudden, they've been sitting in the midfield. We saw them up the head of the field early on when they cycled through, and all of a sudden now they're some of the quickest cars on the track, and consistently quick in traffic or not.
And also consistently quick now after that brush with the wall is Alex McDowell, because he's closing in on Vanter. Who would have bet on this one 2 or 3 hours ago?
The gap between them, 29.6 seconds. I just wonder how much that spin will cost McDowell, especially if it goes green for a long time.
Remember, he was ahead of the Audi.
Yeah. He was. We've had 17 safety car periods for 63 laps here at Bathurst, and the Liqui Moly 12 hours for 2015. We'll forgive all of that if we can get through to the last 25-30 minutes and have some full green flag, full fat racing. At the moment, we're under green and we're getting down to the money laps. Who will blink first? It's live and free on 7. You're watching the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours for 2015. Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours. Well, this is the battle on the circuit at the moment. The Aston Martin right in amongst it. It's that is 3rd, 4th and 5th position. And this is just how it works. That's the 99 car just squaring me up again. The 99 stays out of the way.
They need different liveries on those two cars. They look far too similar.
Not the first time it's caught me out today. I'm going to keep an eye on that, Krillsy, while you get an interview away with an absolute legend here in the comms box.
Funny, the people you meet wandering through the commentary position here at Mount Panorama, defending champion of the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hour, John Bow, is with us. G'day, JB, how are you?
G'day, mate, I'm good. Yeah, I finished my work for the day. Started badly. I made a rookie mistake and on the outlap, felt like an absolute goose, but we live to fight another day, so the car's going good, going well.
How's the team gone? This is the first major race for Flying B Racing, of course, major debut at the end of last year over at Highlands Motorsport Park, but how's the process been today? How's the team gelled together and how's the car gone?
Look, honestly, it's been so good. The car hasn't missed a beat. The guys we've got Campbell Little, who's, you know, vast experience, a bit like me. He hasn't made any mistakes, unlike myself, but we've got Lewis is from Bentley Motorsport or M Sport, which build the cars. He's an awesome little bloke, and we've got all the Maranello guys that were there last year, so it's been like absolutely terrific, really.
Well, hey, JP, you're talking about running at the very sharp end of a very, very good field on a difficult circuit. I know you know this place like the back of your hand, but you get 5 hours of practicing qualifying to get used to a brand new car. How do you dial yourself in so quickly? What are you trying to do to find out the personality, if you like, of this Flying B Bentley?
Well, I think, honestly, the car it's more conventional because it's a front engine rear drive, so whilst I wouldn't say it's probably ultimately quite as quick as a Ferrari around here, it gives you good messages, so it's actually quite a nice car to drive. It's got in terms of driver comforts, it's got this refrigeration unit that runs a cool suit, so the blokes with my vintage, you know, it's fantastic.
Is there any differences between your car and the M Sport car? Different specifications or anything like that?
I don't believe so, no. I mean, if you look at our best laps for the day, they're all within a tenth of each other, so I think it's much the same, but we've done our thing this weekend and they've done their thing. We haven't had any great sharing of data, which, you know, is fine with us. I think the car's got more potential next year or this coming year in our series in Australia, so I'm quite excited about it, except I've been talking so much I've lost my voice.
This car pressing on. This is Stephen Kane, one of the works M Sport Bentleys. It's about to set. If all goes well, it's fastest lap of the motor race. So it doesn't quite, very close. Does a 5.4, which is good pace at this stage in the game.
Yes,
I believe this motor race, though, JB, safety cars, record number of them today. Tough affair.
Well, I guess that's what endurance racing is about. That's what it used to be about back in the day when the Bathurst 1000 was for all sorts of different cars. You had a lot of speed difference, and while we all get a bit crapped off about it, they've got as much right to be there as we have, and you need to be, you know, smart and not get involved, because you know, the circuit bites. You can't make a mistake here without hitting something, basically. Although I managed to. I don't know how I did that. It was God help me.
Is it the case now, John, that you've got to, pretty much in any endurance race, looking at John Wickham there, the man, one of the driving force behind the
Sport experience?
Yes, just a bit, everything from F1 down over. Yeah. Wick's there doing the numbers as John, your car's just come into the pits. Is it the case now, though, that you've almost got to have an absolute clear run, and that the endurance part of endurance racing is getting those decisions right? Because we kind of take the reliability of these cars for granted now, which we could not have done, well, certainly not even a decade ago.
No, no way, no. Even 4 years ago it was a problem, but they are so... These are like factory race cars in actual fact, so they've proven to be very tough. I mean, it's interesting to see the Bentley has obviously managed itself into that position, which is very good. The team's done that for them. I would, you know, before this race started, my money was on the number 15 Audi, because it's got a great driver lineup. The gun is in there now, so you know, I reckon they'll be very hard to beat. But I've been very impressed with the young guys in Erebus, the black Mercedes too. You know, Jack LeBrock and Richard Muscat are, you know, future champions in this country, so and they've done a fantastic job.
Gratifying to see guys from here mixing it with the international stars and giving Aussie motorsport a fantastic future.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it is. I mean, Aussie blokes have always been pretty good, though, to be honest.
Yep. I'd agree with that. What we want to do, John, is to see you. We want to see you come across and do, you know, the 24 hours at Dubai, the 24 hours at Spa, and give one back over to the guys over there. You know, that's the sort of thing. We now know how good all you guys are. You need to take that to the rest of the world, as we see some great side-by-side racing going down into the final corner, and that is Laurent Vantour, who has set this place alight as he comes through.
Sorry, JB, something I'm keen to ask you is that what we've seen today is that working through traffic, it seems you have to be very decisive when you're the faster car, because we've seen the ones that have hesitated have either made contact or had near misses. Is that how you approach it? What's the process when you're taking into a car that is 10, 15 seconds a lap slower than you?
Well, personally, I take it very carefully, because you're never quite sure who's in what car. And, you know, you just have to be patient, basically. Some of the younger guys, I've certainly seen them today, they go where angels fear to tread, and sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't.
Stop go for the 16 car, and I can only assume that was for the contact earlier on with Ivo Broikis at the top of the hill. That certainly wasn't in their pit bay, as far as I'm aware. That was a stop and hold, actually, at the end of the pit lane by the look of what we saw on the screen. Felix Baumgartner dropping into 6th position overall. Stephen Kane still out there. An hour and 27 minutes left to go. Tactics, John. You've got a big... Well, actually, I'll take that back, because Felix is now out of the car, so maybe that was a stop as well. Tactics, John, what do you do now? Most people have got either a stop or a stop and a splash to go. Do you take your last stop as soon as you can and get it out the way, or do you roll the dice and go as far as the fuel will let you?
Well, they certainly won't do an hour and 20 minutes on a tank away. So, you know, I think most of them have got their best, you know, their fastest, their most efficient driver in, and it'll be a very tough race to the finish, I think.
JB, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it, as always. Best of luck to the end. At the moment, you're 11th. Be nice to see that Flying B car inside the top 10 at the end of a grueling 12 hours.
Yes, wouldn't it?
Thanks for dropping by. There's John Bout, defending champion of this race and going very well in the Flying B Racing Bentley. We need to get a break out of the way from Mount Panorama. Bentley leads the race with Stephen Kane out on top. We'll take a break, back with more right after this.
And a 5.7 for style from the judges there. The ice brake Porsche, quick spin and resume. Chris Pither at the wheel of that. He's 7th overall at the moment, chaps, and that leaves him 5th position in the Pro class.
Can't afford to lose too much time doing things like that, though, young Chris, because Andrea Montermini isn't too far behind on the same lap in the Ferrari. In fact, the gap is 9 seconds. It was 15 before that little spin. So Chris Pither needs to just keep the thing pointed in the right direction and try and get that car to the finish. They're the second car off at this stage, the lead lap. The 16 car through the pit shuffle has dropped back, but they have Stefano Ortelli behind the wheel now, the former Le Mans 24-hour winner. So they've got a good driver in that car to get it to the flag, and as the pit stop shuffle works itself out in the closing stages of this motor race, they might well find themselves back in the game.
I love the way that for all the calculations that we do, all the notes that we keep, all the speculation that we do, it will come down to the dash after the last pit stops when everybody is going for the same thing, namely the best finish that they can possibly achieve. As we see it at the moment, Stephen Kane, who's just done a 2:05.1, very quick indeed, is coming to the end of the run for the leading number 10 Bentley. But at the moment, he's not in the window to go to the end on one more stop. He needs about another 15 minutes, I reckon, to do that, and I don't think he's got that in the tank.
Well, you heard it from someone who's been driving a Bentley all day. JB, before the break, was saying he can't do it with an hour and 20. That's not going to happen, and I'm not convinced he's going to be able to get another 20 minutes out of that car before he stops. I think they aren't too far away from a pit stop, so we need to sort of find out what's going on down there in the Bentley M Sport garage. Another thing we're ticking over as we have a look at this great fight between the Nissan and the Erebus Merc. This could still be the battle for the victory in an hour and 20 minutes time. Make no mistake about that. The other thing we're ticking over is laps. We're up to 239 laps, which is 1,484 Ks. Still miles below the lowest distance ever completed in the GT era since 2011. That was 2013, 268 laps. I think we'll go past that. No way we're going to get near the record distance from 2014, 296 laps.
Too much yellow, I'm afraid, and that's rather a shame, because when the cars have been racing under green flags, it's been stunning stuff. Meanwhile, Stephen Kane puts in a 2:07 that'll be traffic affected. It's the first lap I've seen him under 2:06 for quite some wee while, pulling it out a bit more clean air from Lawrence Vantour as he gets closer and closer to bring the number 10 Bentley down pit lane for tank full of fuel, John.
54 in from the Ridges GT4 Class C battle. They have been at it pretty much all the way through, the Lotus and the Aston Martin. Another British mark affair. And interesting way to get in. Head in first and then settle yourself back into the seat. V6 Lotus Exige. Battle with the St. Gallen dark grey Aston Martin. And look at the top of the screen, you can see that they are in the pit, and Chris Porritt has dropped 5 laps to them now.
He must have had a problem.
We've had a problem with that car, and that's going to be hard to pull back if the Donut King car runs all the way through.
That's rather a shame, because the battle we've had on track between just these two cars has been nose to tail almost all the way through. They'll go one way or the other with pit stops, but clearly the very pretty pink Lotus now has a significant advantage over the equally pretty flat grey Aston Martin.
Meantime, Stephen Kane continues to lap right in the numbers, the kind of numbers that we'd expect to see from the Bentley. And it's Vantour in second, McDowell in third. 10, 15 and 97. Bentley, Audi, Aston Martin, all I think with 2 stops, or at least not 2 full stops, but a stop and a splash for those cars. I'm pretty certain that the Nissan can go on one more stop. Florian Strauss behind the wheel of the 35 is being pressured at the moment by Jack LeBrock in the 36 Aston Martin, in the 36 AMG Mercedes-Benz SLS. And they may just need a splash or a little help from a safety car, as well as the Lotus is rolling again down the pit lane.
We've got a big battle on track at the moment for 9th position. Tony Verlander in that Clearwater Ferrari that we were thinking might get back onto the lead lap. Hasn't worked out for them, but it's just put in the fastest lap of that car's race, a 2:05 dead, and is now within a second of David Russell in the 32 Lamborghini ahead. Meantime, The two cars, fourth and fifth, we've just been watching them on screen, Florian Strauss and Jack Le Brocq, are beginning to reel in the Aston Martin for third. A couple of seconds a lap quicker at the moment over the last 2 laps, and that gap is coming down to under 15 seconds.
We're predicting somewhere in the region of 277 laps of Bathurst for the 2015 Liqui Moly 12 hours, and you'll see them when we come back live and free on 7. Bell being installed a few moments ago. You saw it there on the Maguire's replay, and Matt is back in the number 10 Bentley. Stephen Kane, after an Ironman run, has got out, and that is a key moment of the race. It happened at 1 hour and 16 to run, and unless they're going to make fuel on that 4-litre V8 and use the cylinder-on-demand function that the street car has, I don't think they can go to the end from there.
Two things I think are happening with the 10 car. They either know they have to stop again, or they're gambling that there'll be a safety car between now and the finish, and they'll be able to save some fuel during that.
Watch the pace. Watch the pace. If the car is right on the pace and doing as quick as it's ever done, they know they're having to stop again, and they're pushing. If it's not, if it's half a second to a second off, then it means they're already in the mode that is trying to save fuel. Well, maybe Stephen Kane can tell us one of those answers. Do we think we'll get a straight answer? Well, Mark Beretta is going to ask the question anyway, I guarantee it.
We'll ask the hard questions, John. Stephen Kane, well done, you guys. You're working away, and you're really making up some ground now.
Yeah, we've, you know, the track's obviously rubbering up, and with the temperature down, the track's actually coming to us, so yeah, we're getting more and more competitive as the race goes on, but, you know, we've still got another stop to do. We have to look after the brake pads yet, which is a big thing for everyone. So, yeah, it's all going well at the minute. Lap times are good and we're competitive, so, yeah, we're in the right place.
Steve, you've just answered the question that everyone wants to know. There will be another stop. Will there be a driver change as well?
Not sure yet. I need to check with the team to see what the amount of time that I just did, but, you know, the plan was for him to put me in at the end, but I think I did a fair chunk of time there, so we'll have to see what the boys say.
Are you getting a sniff of a win here at Mount Panorama this afternoon?
It would be a dream come true, and I would love it. Now, I was certainly pushing in the last stint, but we'll wait and see. I would love it. It'd be great for Bentley.
How's the Bentley handling out there? It looks fantastic.
It is really, really good. It's such an enjoyable track, you know. With the dirt down earlier in the weekend, it was, you know, we were just taking our time, getting to learn the track, getting to learn the tires. But as the rubber's going down and the race is going, the car's coming to us, and we can really start to grab it by the neck now. So it's enjoyable.
We'll let you cool down, catch your breath, and you could be back out there.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks.
Well, if that was a roll of the dice down with Mark Beretta and Stephen Kane for Bentley, what we've just seen there is, well,
we're trying to work them out,
pushed it all in. If this is a game of high-stakes poker, the 36 Erebus Mercedes have gone all in, because they've come out with 1 hour and 11 minutes to go, having brought Jack Le Brocq in for a splash of fuel. They did not need to come in at that time. And with 112 litres in the tank, do they think they can do 1 hour and 10? That is stretching the envelope for my money.
Didn't change drivers.
No, unless the only thing is if they've had some issue that needed sorting and then they've brimmed it, and then they'll have to hope. But if that was a tactic, they really have put it all on the line there, when we thought that they and the Nissan number 35 might have been battling in 40 minutes' time for the victory here at Mount Panorama. That's a baffling situation. It may be a piece of brilliance that we've just seen there.
The very limited brain cells inside my head, John, are struggling to cope with that. 21 laps on a stint. We know they can go near on 30 at least. So that's a surprise, unless they think they could go an hour and 10.
But what they're doing is looking at Jack Le Brocq's drive time. So they brought him in at that point and filled it. He'll now go to the end of his drive time. But I'm not sure.
The noise, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
There's three very confused faces in here, and I think once Sheridan gets down to the Erebus pits, we may get the answer as to what that was all about, but that was very edgy stuff. If that was tactics...
Well, if that comes off from them, that is a big, bold move from the ladies and gents down at Erebus Racing. And if that's what wins the motor race, then you've got to hand it to them. That has been a big one. Laurent Vantour at the head of the field at the moment, but needs another stop.
And is pulling away from the Aston Martin. 28 seconds, 3 or 4 laps back now, over 36 seconds to the good Laurent Vantour. So the pace is there. It's still in the 205s is the Audi. You can see another stop from the 15 and the 97.
Certainly not fuel-saving, are they?
No. Now, what we're getting into now, though, gentlemen, is for the 15 and the 97, with 1:09 to go, if we could eke another 3 or 4 laps out from those two, as the 97 comes in, it clearly can't. So stop that thought immediately, Hindhoff. And while that car comes in, let's find out how clever Erebus were being. Jack Le Brocq in and out again on a short stint. Shea Adam has gone down to the 36 pit.
That was the risk that might just get them to the podium. They had driver times perfectly planned out, but unfortunately the fuel levels did not coincide. So when Richard Muscat came in to get out of the car and Jack Le Brocq to get in, he still had about 30 litres of fuel left in the tank. This last stop gets Jack Le Brocq to the checkered with a full fuel tank, but the catch is they're a couple minutes short, so they're preying on a safety car coming out. Given the way that we've seen safety cars plenty today, I think theirs is a safe bet.
Well, I don't know there's ever a safe bet around here. The mountain throws the variables at you like nowhere else in the world. We've said that was a high-stakes bet. They have just pushed all their chips in for Jack Le Brocq, and in the next hour and 8 minutes, we'll see if that pays off big or they go home having lost their shirts. It's the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours for 2015 on 7. It's Mount Panorama, and we're watching a Nissan climb the mountain under the guidance of Florian Strauss, young Belgian driver who's come up through the GT Academy. And he comes up to Griffin Bend, turns hard right. He's got traffic ahead of him in the shape of one of the B-class Porsches. And let's ride with him here as we watch the fastest tin tops, no, scrub that, the fastest cars at Bathurst. The big V8 rumble across here in a 207. We've only seen a 202 in qualifying here, and these guys are lapping somewhere in race trim on a 203. And this is where they make the time up. It's the downforce, the commitment of these drivers. They are giving away centimetres to the wall. They have to be millimetre perfect, and they are some 2 to 3 seconds faster over the top of the mountain than their V8 counterparts, because they're not as quick in a straight line. The V8s are a little quicker, but these guys are taking time out of the other tin tops by being committed and being super quick over the technical sections. These are international sports car superstars, race car rock stars here on the mountain, out through the Falcon tyre elbow and down the Conrod Straight. This Nissan is tearing up the track here and really showing what can be done. If you want variety, let's go on board with the number 10. This is the Bentley. Look at how relaxed the driver is. Round about 180 miles an hour, no hint of a lift, and braking all the way down at the 120-metre board for the Michelin Chase, standing on that middle pedal with around about 120 bar pressure. Down into the final corner. Commitment, 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 all the way through the 9 hours that we've been running. This is class, and you're seeing it live and free here on 7.
The top 16 cars, John, the top 16 cars as we currently stand the race have already beaten the lap record here by the V8 supercars during this race by up to 4 seconds a lap. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. That much quicker than the fastest V8 supercar lap ever around the mountain. That's staggering stuff.
Right, to business. Florian Strauss pits the Nissan. Lawrence Vanthoor in the number 15 Audi from the race lead has pitted. So, Chio jumping into the Nissan GTR. They're in 3rd place. I think these will be the final stops for these cars. The Audi should do an hour on a tank at Mount Panorama. They've done it before. But it depends on how much the wickers turn up in this final stage. So, there's the 35 Nissan. And they put rubber on that car too. So they've thrown some brand new tyres at that thing. So it's bringing all its armoury to the fight to the finish of the Liqui Moly 12 hour.
Yeah, last stop for Florian, or for the Nissan, should I say. And Shea Adam is down in the pit lane, and she has news on tactics. What do you have, Shea?
Well, Alec McDowell, you've never been to the mountain before, but you have driven with Craft Bamboo a bunch and Aston Martins. You had a very good time out there leading the race, but then you also had a spin at the start of your last stint. What triggered that?
Yeah, we were looking quite well. I was in a good rhythm to start with. I just had to kind of concentrate on holding the track position was the key. There was a Bentley Am behind, who obviously had their pro driver in. He was quite quick. He just ducked out last minute going into turn 2, distracted me. And as soon as you get offline there, it's off-cambered, and I just lost the rear and went straight into the barrier. But luckily, I got it spun around okay. Got back again. The car didn't feel too bad. Set some quick lap times and started catching back up to 3rd place. So it's not over yet. There's still a long way to go.
Stefan Muka in the car now with some soft Michelins on. Is he going to go to the end?
I'm not sure. I probably shouldn't say, but he'll obviously be very quick. Try and make up the lost ground. It's just disappointed on my behalf because you know, I'm a rookie here, but I just lapse of concentration. You know, we learn by our mistakes, and hopefully we come back next year, we can be in a better position.
You can tell us. There's only a couple million people watching and listening across the world. It's okay. We'll keep your secret.
Yeah. No, it's this is a great race. This is one I've always wanted to do. It's probably my favourite one behind Le Mans. So it's great to be in a shot of a podium.
And within a shot of a podium is definitely within the reach of the 97 Aston Martin.
Yeah, within the shot of a podium, you might be on the top step, the way this race doles out its cards towards the end. You can see a little bit of damage on the back of the Porsche as that comes down Conrad straight. At the head of the field, it's back to Bentley, and Matt Bell, who was down and out for the count earlier on, has been rehydrated, replaced into the car, and immediately heads up the mountain, putting in decent times.
We're in the last hour. It's that kind of time again where you remember when you were back in the playground and someone was picking the team. Well, these are who the picks are for the top 6.
Yeah.
The first picks. Matt Bell leads the motor race for Bentley in the number 10 Bentley Continental GT3. Laurence Vanthoor 10 seconds back in the number 15 Phoenix Audi. Kazumichi Chio, thank you very much, is third in the Nissan GTR. Godzilla is on the mountain and is a further minute and a quarter back. Jacques Lebrock in the Erebus Mercedes-Benz is next up, right on the tail of the Nissan. And Stefan Muka, just hearing from Alex McDowell there, is the last throw of the dice for the 97 car, the Craft Bamboo, the V12-engined Aston Martin.
If it goes to a fight to the flag between the 10 Bentley and the 15 Audi, you'd put your money on Laurence Vanthoor based on what we've seen so far and the raw speed available to that car. Fastest lap difference between the two of them. The best lap for the 10 Bentley so far today, 2:05.1. The fast lap for Laurence Vanthoor, 2:03.3 that he did on lap 29. It seems like several months ago, earlier on this morning.
And yet, in some ways, it feels like 5 minutes ago because we've never been able to take our eyes off the Channel 7 pictures here in the booth as the number 10 of Matt Bell leads up the mountain.
If it's a race on speed alone, John, the Nissan and the 15 Audi win it. but we know it's not. It's on track position.
Well,
it's on getting to the final safety car if there is one.
Well, you always say all things being equal, and how many times in any motor race are all things equal? Never. How many times at the mountain are all things equal? How many times at an endurance race at the mountain are all things equal? None, and none. He's just absolutely edge of the seat stuff. And I'll tell you now, up and down pit lane, nobody has any more idea of what's going to happen than we do here. It's pure speculation. Fastest lap of their race for Tony Vielander in the 33 Clearwater car. That car has not had the rub of the green this year and will not be among the top three.
I cannot remember the last time, John, that you and I covered an endurance race anywhere in the world that something extraordinary didn't happen in the last half an hour.
Good point.
And we've got another half an hour on top of that to enjoy this. This is cracking stuff. It is, well, 200-mile-an-hour chess, isn't it, really? But you wouldn't want to give it away of this king or this pawn, but that's the Bentley full tilt all the way down the mountain now.
Well, Erebus earlier on sacrificed the Queen. Basically, that's what it was. The First Lady of Motorsport and the rest of the team making their decision early and setting Jacques Lebrock to stun and firing him off towards the checkered flag. Very, very tight on fuel that car will be. I still think that Matt Bell is doing enough at the moment. Can he keep the gap between himself and Van Toor?
The other impressive thing, leading the race is a Bentley, second is an Audi, third is a Nissan, fourth is a Mercedes, fifth is an Aston Martin. 5 brands inside the top 5 of this amazing motor race.
What do we think Alex McDowell lost when he spun at Griffin Bend? 30 seconds?
30 seconds,
yeah,
definitely.
That could be...
That would have put him third at the moment.
What we've got in prospect here, guys, is a big result for Audi, a massive result for Bentley, a massive result for Nissan, a massive result for Aston Martin. This is the race these guys want to win. This is virgin territory for them.
Let's head down to the pit lane. We're going to go down to the Nissan, or the Nismo Global Athlete Garage, and Florian Strauss is out of the car speaking to our Shea Adam.
And Florian desperately wants to win this race. It's only your second race of 2015, and the first you wound up on a podium at Dubai. Is this the car to get you to that first place finish?
I think we're just, our main target is to finish the race and to win our class. Of course, it would be nice to get an overall podium, but I think we're not, hunting down the first position. It's just, saving the car, bring it safely home. We have a big lead in our class, so there's nothing, the gap to the front guys is quite big. The temperature is pretty high, so, the car went through hell during the race, so we try to keep it now safe and, conserve our place in the class, and then maybe, looks like in a moment, we can have an overall podium. That would be amazing. I think nobody from us expected us to be that good. Of course, during the race, we all dreamed, maybe it looked really promising. We were often in first class, but unfortunately, every gap, we could drive out, got taken away by all the safety cars. But same for all in the end. You have to be a little bit lucky, that your safety car comes at the right time. But yeah, so far, amazing weekend, amazing experience in Australian, and I hope I come back next year.
Just looking for a little bit of luck is Florian Strauss and the whole number 35 Nismo team.
I once asked the man at the head of many of Audi's victories in world motorsport, Reinhold Joost, what would you rather be, lucky or good? And he said both.
That's fair enough.
Typical Reinhold, and there have been.
I'd say something else. On the basis of that chat with Shea down in the pit lane. Oh, trouble for the Elephant Bentley. It's stopped on track.
This is Maxi Burke in 16th position and really needs to get this car off the track if he can. This doesn't help his teammate at all. 5 seconds the gap between Matt Bell and Laurent Van Toor. It's a massive break for Nissan if this goes full course caution. Local yellows at the moment. It will also help the 36 Erebus Mercedes-Benz, the MG SLS of Jacques Lebrock, as Montermini puts in that car's fastest lap, the 49 car, at 2:05.5, just before he comes to this slow zone on the circuit with the local yellows. Now, there's still electrical power in the 11 car. Maxi Burke will be cycling through everything. He's driver's left at the moment.
And so far today, remember, race control has been very good at giving drivers stopped on the circuit time to recover themselves, cycle through the car and get it fired up. So they will give them every opportunity to refire that car and get it going again. Fastest lap of the race for Andrea Montermini in 7th place for that car, 5.5. 52 minutes to go. Safety car here makes things very interesting indeed.
Massive break for those chasing down Matt Bell at the moment. And the irony being it's his team car, the 11 of Maxi Burke, that is stationary. Yellow flags are local yellows at the moment, warning drivers of the issue, no overtaking. Be prepared to slow or stop. There is the car on the left-hand side. His teammate goes by him now. Wow, that looks like so quick. And the yellow flag becomes double yellows at the start-finish line. And the safety car is out on lap 252. And what we were just saying about all things being equal and not being has come to pass. The mountain throws out another curveball.
I'll take my $10 back about the Erebus bet and put it on that if Shea went back to speak to Florian now, he's not quite so calm, because this is going to throw it all open.
Yeah, this now means all bets are off, and that big move by Erebus to put all their chips in the middle with Jack LeBrock, what, 40 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago, all of a sudden looks a little different. The question is, how long a safety car, how quick can that car be moved, and where do you take it to? If it's a flatbed that it needs, it's going to take some while. If it can be pushed back or rolled back, there is an entrance into the paddock just behind and to the right of the pictures that we're looking at now here on 7.
Amazing stuff. This race just continues to deliver, and in front of a record 3-day attendance of 32,200 plus 6,000 up on last year. So this race growing massively as we go down to pit lane and say a very big hello to Mark Beretta.
Well, guys, with the final 45 minutes closing into this incredible 12-hour race, for viewers in Victoria and New South Wales, a reminder it's time to flick across to 7 Mate. So go from 7 to 7 Mate in Victoria and New South Wales to stay with the end of this incredible race. It's been an amazing 11 hours and 15 minutes, and the best is yet to come. The field is back together. For viewers in other states, say exactly where you are on 7, and we will take you to the finish of this race. For viewers in Victoria and New South Wales, switch now to 7 Mate.